Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. Right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
All right, Business Wednesdays it is, and today we have Pompliano back here with us to make everybody smarter. Like I say every single time, I am surrounded by three brilliant, genius minds, and I simply ask questions. I'm just a regular guy trying to get smarter, guys. You and I, us regular people, our goal by the time it's done to get slightly smarter than we were a minute before getting on the show. Pom, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, but I'm here to try to learn from you. So stop with the nonsense already.
All right, so let's get into the stories. We got a lot of stuff that's going on. There's this guy named, I have a hard time pronouncing his name. I think it's Elon or Elon that is about to be the first trillionaire if you're not following the story.
Who's that?
This guy named Elon Musk, apparently, that's doing this one company called SpaceX that's going to be the biggest IPO. And apparently that's going to get him close to like $800 billion net worth. So we're thinking about starting a GoFundMe for him just to kind of help him out.
He needs some help.
He needs a little bit of help. Lives in a small house. So, I mean, I know he needs finances. So we'll figure that part out. Hassett's Fed chair candidacy received pushback from high-level people close to Trump, including Jamie Dimon. Jamie wants Warsh instead of Hassett. And Trump picks fight with MAGA allies and issue an AI executive order. And this governor out of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is like, I don't know about that. I think we can regulate AI in our own way because we have the right as a state. So we'll kind of process that together. Why single-income households are a bygone era, according to experts. No more single-income households. Both husband and wife are working. McDonald's pulls creepy AI. Have you guys seen this commercial, the AI generated Christmas ad?
Yeah.
I watch it at first. I'm like, this has to be a spoof. And my guys are like, no, this is really them. They had to later on take it down. Did they really take it down? Yes. Do you not hate Christmas? Do you not hate this? I'm like, it's actually an interesting creative, but maybe, you have different thoughts on it. We'll play it for you as well. I know Brandon's got some thoughts on this. White House launches 2-year tech force hiring for roughly 1,000 jobs that will pay $130,000 to $195,000. Trump sues BBC for $10 billion. Claims defamation from Panorama documentary. Powell says he wants to turn this job over with economy in really good shape before departure. He's such a now noble. He cares about legacy and all this stuff. And the moment we read the story yesterday, guys, when we do story prep, there's sometimes I'll go through stories and Tom will allow me to get to the next one. Sometimes some stories, and I tell Tom, the podcast is tomorrow. Tom blew up with this story. Who does he think he is? Now it's about legacy? What about all this time? So anyways, Tom's, he's got his...
I said that. I did.
Yeah. So we will have Tom share that with you guys today and see, maybe he feels a little bit better about the guy today. Who knows? Why everyone got Trump's tariff wrong. That's a Wall Street Journal story. Even they were saying it's not a good idea. Ron DeSantis mocks this guy out of Canada. Pretty successful guy, Doug Ford. Florida is hurting due to Canadian boycott remark. And you should see what DeSantis said about it, as if Florida needs Canadians. Every other day, if I'm out here walking the streets, I meet a Canadian. They're great people. They drink coconut beer. They like their Toronto Blue Jays that made to the World Series. I don't like the Toronto Blue Jays because they took out our Yankees. He loves the Blue Jays because they caused it to be the greatest World Series of all time. And he's a Dodger guy. But, Canadians are great people, Tom. We got one, Canadian blood in the house here today with
Canadian derivative, I am.
Yeah, that's right. So UPS buys hundreds of robots to unload trucks in automation push. McKinsey plots thousands of job cuts and slowdown for consulting industry. Maybe we're going to talk about how this consulting industry is it a waste of time? Should you hire consultants? If you do, who should you hire? Who knows? We'll talk about that as well. Then we have next one, the rise of dual income households, same as the other one video. This next story is very, very interesting. Ford writes down $19.5 billion as it pivots electric lighting line of vehicles. Let me tell you, out of all the stories here, that's probably my top 3 on what's going on with cars. And you have to see why that's so important. At the same time, Tesla stock closes at 2025 high, after Musk confirms driverless robo-taxi tests underway in Austin. Can U.S. automakers compete with Chinese EVs while focused on gas guzzlers? And then we have a couple other things here about Palm Beach. This place will win when it comes down to business. JP Morgan debuts first money market token fund on Ethereum. Pop, I'm sure you got some thoughts on that. MicroStrategy decides to buy some more Bitcoin, another $1 billion for that guy for his second week. Bitcoin is dropping to $86,000 due to a lack of conviction. You know that, right? People have a lack of conviction. Keeps a lid on crypto prices. Yahoo Finance. Pomp is about to call this journalist from Columbia University out in a second here when we get to it. U.S. declares energy emergency as cold snap hits Northeast. Oil settles at lowest 2021. Arizona City unanimously rejects AI data center after resident outcry. We got a couple other stories to get into here. We definitely have to talk about AI and jobs. I know you got a lot of stuff to say about that, so we'll get to that as well with the job market. People are worried. Is it going to affect me? Is it not going to affect me? I have my whole thoughts on that as well. But prior to getting into that, here's what's going on. Last year, every time I'm at this campus and I'm in my conference room and I look to my left and I see 15 people walk into the other building, they're getting a tour. That means we've hired 15 new people, okay? And last week we had 10 new hires that we had 45 job openings. Right now we have 35 job openings. We are hiring. If you're somebody highly qualified, you're educated, you're hungry, you want to be part of something that you want to go on a run for 20 years, a lot of people, if you just watch us, you think it's a podcast. And by the way, you may have a son, a daughter, a friend, somebody that's fully qualified that wants to be part of something and bring their talent to us. Not an easy place to work. You know, we work very, very hard at a place like this. But if you think this is just a podcast, I want you to watch this clip to give you a little bit of a glimpse, and then I'll give you a link to go apply for the 35 job openings that we have right now. Go ahead, Rob. Many times when people think about Valuetainment, all they think about is a podcast. But it's a lot more than that. It's 9 companies working together on an 11-acre campus. If I was to give you a virtual tour here, you'll see the HR department hiring, talent acquisition. We have full-stack developers that are working on Connect and Hire Metrics. We have a full-fledged events team that puts together events with thousands of people. We have a merch department designing the latest product. We just launched the FLB shoes, made in Italy. We have a marketing department. Then if you go to the complete opposite side of the building, 50, 60 people making calls, working for David Consulting, sales, setters. And then on the complete opposite side of the campus, there's a full-on production company with editors, shooters, creating content, doing podcasts. Then you can drive down a couple miles and go to our private boardroom cigar lounge with members only. Regardless of what it is, working at Valuetainment, every day is a surprise. You could be walking into work and right next to you is a governor, is a billionaire, is an athlete. We are hiring aggressively, but Valuetainment isn't for everybody. For the right person, this could be the last company you ever work for. So if you're watching this and you want to learn more, go to vt.com/careers and apply now. There you go. Go to vt.com/careers and apply now. Rob, if we can put the link below as well, that will be wonderful. Okay.
Can I say something about the people I met here?
Please, go for it.
Excellent. A+. Every single person. High energy, smart. And I ask every place I go, I ask them, what's it like working here? What's the best part? What's the worst part? And the woman that I was just talking with, you know what she told me? She said, it's great to have a leader who's pushing forward. There's a movement. You feel like you're contributing, but it's fun as well. It's very rare where you can work really hard and have fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you for saying that.
Yeah.
And whoever said that, can we
I might apply. She was a good sales pitch.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Bring your talents to just north of South Beach.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you. Let's get right into it. Tom, you know what? I'm going to start off with that story because I do think it's a very big story when it comes down to cars and how wrong the previous administration got it and how confused these automakers are right now. Ford writes down $19.5 billion as it pivots electric lighting line of vehicles, and this is page 11 if you want to go to it. This is a Fortune story. So let's go through it. So Ford searches for finding profitability for its electric vehicle continues. So the Dearborn, Michigan-based automaker will make a series of changes to its line of vehicles and production facility to focus on producing affordable vehicles that better align with customer desires. It's announced on Monday. The company will also scrap production of certain larger EVs, ready? Including the F-150 Lightning, which it will retool as an electric vehicle with a gas-powered generator, as well as redouble development of smaller, lower-cost cars, including a mid-sized pickup truck in 2027. I can go give a lot of other stats here, but I'm just going to go to Tom. Tom, $19.5 billion. What's going on with Ford?
Well, I happen to think that a set of governors, blue governors, led by Gavin Newsom, owe the shareholders probably half of that, because you had, California said, oh, by 2030, what was it? By 2030, you have to be 30% EVs. They had these steps, and they basically stepped on, the demand side of the automakers and said, you will do this. Meanwhile, California didn't have the electric infrastructure to do that, and they don't even have the electric infrastructure to power the data centers that are going to be in California, which is not as many as going to be elsewhere, which is another story. But you had all the automakers got behind it, the point is. Ford got behind it. The F-150 Lightning pickup had a Super Bowl ad. They had everything they were doing on this. And we can see Jim Farley is on here talking to, who is that, Kudlow, about it. And Mari Barra said, GM is all in. As a matter of fact, Cadillac will be the all-electric division. She went all in. It was Cadillac going to be the all-electric division. They all went there, and guess what they found out? Battery technology is expensive to make. They also found out that, guess what? You got to be able to charge these things. And then Elon Musk proved that he wasn't just Tesla. He was a service station network saying, hey, you use the same connector on the car, you could use my superchargers everywhere. But the automakers, went all in. And now they're backing off.
Tom, did they go all in because they didn't have a choice? Was it a business move? Was it a forced move?
They made a business decision at gunpoint of green legislation, with states like California saying, you will be this % by this time. So they had no choice. But they also went all in. And so because they believed, look, if you believe that Biden was going to be reelected, or that Kamala was going to be elected, or that that AOC and the green mandate and everything was going to continue, then you went that way to protect your business because, under federal guidelines, you had to do it. Meanwhile, the consumers were discovering that when you take that $7,500 subsidy, remember all the headlines about that? When you take that off, it points back to the hybrid vehicles being more cost effective. And you have a Honda Civic hybrid that can go 600 miles because it's a small fuel tank and a little generator keeps recharging battery. It's actually more efficient, and it actually was less dollars. And so Ford has said, listen, the all-electric stuff, we can't make it work on a 5,000-pound pickup. We can't make it work on the SUVs. We're writing all that off. 19.5 written down, but we're going to have a big effort to put the hybrids in the middle, because we know Americans like the fact that the hybrids are more economically priced, and you can go 600-700 miles on your crossover or your Honda Civic, and that's where the market is. But this is really, I feel like that California owes the Ford shareholders probably half of that $10 billion, because that was done at legislative gunpoint, and they didn't have the electrical power infrastructure to really support. If the consumers had done that, so it would have been a brownout at night.
Okay, so Pomp, I'm going to come to you, but I want you to think about this question as well. So what makes them say by 2030, like here's Newsom saying, issued an executive order requiring, these are mandates, all new cars and passenger trucks sold in California to be zero emission by 2035. This directive is the foundation of California's advanced clean cars, a second regulation targeting 100% of EV sales by 2035. When they're saying things like this, are they working collaboratively with these automakers who know how difficult it is to do that? Or is it just like hey, it's a marketing campaign, guys, press release that, here's what we got to do in California, shit? Or is it more like, well, let's piss off Elon Musk a little bit? What do you think it is?
I think that this is the classic mistake people make in business, which is people thought that the consumer was buying an electric vehicle because it was electric. People are not buying a Tesla because it's electric. They're buying it because it's a better car. It just happens to be electric. And that's a huge difference, right? If you get in a Tesla, the first time people sit in there, they feel like this is a car from the future. This is a computer on wheels. This thing is cool. There's full self-driving, all that stuff now. But before you even had the full self-driving, you got in and everything was kind of reimagined. You had the big screen, you had all this, but it was a better experience as a car. So what Elon did was, Elon, I think very smartly, if you go back and you read his master plan for Tesla, et cetera, he said, listen, if I just show up, remember like the original electric vehicles, they were kind of these like small little things. It kind of made you feel like, maybe not as manly. You get in this little thing, pull up, someone sitting in an F-150 jacked up next to you at the red light, right? People didn't want to ride in those things, right? It was kind of like a stupid little car, almost like a clown car, right? Well, what Elon did is he made the Tesla cool. And so he started with the Roadster, and it was kind of like a sports car, right? It was a higher price point.
That's a good point.
And people said, it's a status thing. Now, Elon has a history of doing this because if you notice, he also made it cool to go work in the government, right? So his whole thing is, can you make something high status? And so by making the Tesla high status, people said, I want that car. Oh, by the way, I will deal with the fact that it's electric. Because I think a lot of people also, to Tom's point, it's easier just to go get gas at the gas station. It's easier on a long trip. It's easier, if I don't have to go and charge this because I don't have a charger at my house and sit there for 25 minutes for it to charge up. So Tesla being a superior car is what drove those sales. Well, what did Ford and GM and all these guys do? They basically said, we're going to take our exact same car, which is inferior to the Tesla, and we're simply going to try to rip out the gas engine and put in an electric vehicle. Most consumers buying a Ford F-150, they don't care about an electric vehicle, and actually that may be a negative. Why would I want to buy a big truck that's electric if it's harder for me to go do the things I need to do? So I think that's probably the biggest thing is when you do these mandates, they're, again, let's just say they have good intentions. You can question whether they do or not. But it doesn't address the actual driver of the consumer behavior. You have to make the car cool. And these car companies and the government, they weren't doing that. And that's why Tesla continues to dominate.
Very basic. Go back to marketing. Make a good product. People will come in and buy it. And by the way, it's also like I remember one time I'm talking to your friend, Tom, Jim Scott Bell, and I'm writing this fiction book. And I had such a massive mission messaging in the fiction book. He says, remember, if the message you want to put in the fiction book is bigger than the entertainment aspect of the book, you won't sell. He said, if the entertainment is 95% and messaging is 5%, then you'll sell. These guys try to do EV is 95%, the design is 5%, it looks ugly. Guess what? You're going to go buy it because you're a responsible person. Rob, can you pull up a poll? I'm actually curious with the audience. What percentage of the audience has an EV versus a gas, and then put both? Because some people have both, right? My wife's got gas, I drive an EV. Just run a poll on that if you could, just to see what they're saying. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, I really hate wasted potential more than anything, and the amount of money that's been poured into the EV initiative, it's so sad because like we talk about all the time about the things that actually would benefit from government subsidies, like like a home builders initiative or an initiative to build nuclear reactors to give us more power for the country. But we've spent like probably hundreds of billions of dollars over the last 10 years into trying to pressure or incentivize companies into building EVs. And I sent Rob a chart that shows the amount of material that is required to build an EV versus a gas-powered car. And like, does this look like a good return on investment, especially when the output of energy is not higher? So I almost am forced to wonder since...
But you're showing this. The average person wants to know. You and I know what this is.
Yes.
Can you explain what this means?
So the green circles are the amount of materials like metals and whatnot that go into the inputs of a car. The black circles are gas-powered cars. So you said regular car. No, that's green is EV cars, right? Yes, correct.
So you need each one of those to build an EV car.
Yes.
And why is that so complex?
Why is the EV more complex?
Yeah.
It's just it's not something that I think would be created if the market wasn't being forced to create it. That's the point, is that the government's putting a lot of pressure on companies to build it, but it's not something that would be really profitable or a good return on investment, I think, to build if they weren't getting pressure to do it. We could debate that, but I almost wonder, since like energy matches like the population growth, I almost wonder if the government wants to do this to like maybe slow population growth, because the more energy you have in the country that's free and accessible, the faster the population grows. So it creates a lot of weird questions why they're saying that we need this to save the world, why they're saying we're running out of oil when we've established that we're probably not.
Let me ask you a question. All these different minerals that we need, right?
Yep.
Does U.S. have access to all of them internally, or do we need to go elsewhere to get these? I know the answer to the question. I'm asking you for a reason.
A lot of them, no, we don't have abundant amounts of it. And a lot of them, they're in places like China, they're in South America. So, yeah, no, it's not readily accessible.
There's also a place in Africa, right? There's also a spot in Africa that has what is it called? Multiple places. But there's one main place in Africa. So this makes us reliant on other people. But if we want to make gas, that's it, gas cars, can we make that not relying on anybody else?
More so than the EVs because, it's just a matter of like sheer volume of precious metals and natural resources. And, like this quick side note, I do have a tough time like taking the whole EV thing seriously when something like the Invention Secrecy Act is in place. Like we have no idea what the hell's in there, but there's 6,000 patents of things that could possibly be better than electric and gas. So that's another angle to take with this.
By the way, you look like you want to say something. I'll come to you in a second. So watch this here. What type of vehicle do you own? Gas, EV, both? Gas, 89%. EV, 4%. Both, 7. So let's just say 89 to 11, okay? Meaning you own at least an EV in your car. That's that's a big ratio still in America where cars are at. And that's a 3,400 vote sample. Do you have any final thoughts on this story before we get to the next one, Pomp?
I just think that the legacy car makers, they're getting their butts kicked by Elon Musk. And what it really highlights is you have companies that are being managed by corporate executives, not by entrepreneurs. And so one area where we do see immense amount of innovation, which people in America don't like to acknowledge, is China. I don't know if you've seen any of these videos of these Chinese electric vehicles. I mean, these things are parallel parking by themselves. They've got all kinds of cool, gadgets, et cetera, in there. And so it begs the question, I think, is it an incentive thing as to American companies don't want to innovate? Is there some sort of, we don't have the skilled, engineers, et cetera, to go do this? Is there a capital component? There's something going on as to why majority of the American car companies are not innovating at the same rate that the startup of Tesla or these Chinese car companies are doing. And so I think that if we could answer that question, that then could help change this market. And maybe you would actually have people want to go buy these, not because they're EVs, but because they're just better cars.
And by the way, it's funny you're saying that. Wall Street Journal just did a story on that a couple of days ago. Can U.S. automakers compete with Chinese EVs while focused on gas guzzlers? And this goes back to Tom talking about the $2,500, $7,500 tax credit that they had in the past. Tom, where are you at with this, with what Pomp said? Can U.S. automakers compete with Chinese EVs?
Yeah, I think there's 3 points. There's the point of why can't the U.S. automakers, whatever they make a cool next-gen car? Why can't they get there? And if it's electric because they got a mandate from California, that's part of it, but they can't blame that whole thing. That's why I say 50% of it. The other 50% is you decided to go all in. So A, make a cool car. B, the green lobby really messed with decision-making. It says, and C, now we find out that hybrid's actually a better deal for the consumer all the way around. But let's go back to point A. It's like, where was the leadership in the automakers that said, screw the EV mandate? All of our data shows that people really like hybrids and it costs them less. Let's make the coolest effing hybrid ever seen to mankind. And let's make it really hip. No, let's just take our existing cars because they mandated and let's make them all electric.
I thought Fisker was pretty cool. I thought the Fisker car when it first came out. Do you know which one? Was it Karma? Was it
in New York? If you get on Uber, you want some free alpha for your viewers. In the Uber app, there's actually an electric option. And what almost always happens is you get a Tesla or a Fisker, and it's cheaper. Now, in New York, there's a lot of density, so it's about the same time waiting. In other cities, not so much. But those Fisker cars, it's like, I don't know how many are in America, but I think at least half of them are Uber drivers in New York City.
So? I love that. Did you have a Fisker? Or?
Yep, I had a Fisker Ocean, the crossover.
Is that the one you had?
Yes, I did.
And what happened
to it?
They
got the solar panels, right? In the
they went bankrupt, and I gave it back to Fisker.
Did something happen to the car, though?
Yeah, it got hit. It took a shot, but it wasn't too bad. But then, but by the way, I can show you the pictures of it. But it wasn't that bad. But since they're bankrupt, they couldn't provide parts.
They couldn't provide parts because they went bankrupt.
Yep, and Liberty Mutual said we can't do this.
So it's done.
So I went back to Fisker.
So what do you do? What do you do when it's done like that? I mean, what do you do with the car? Is it kind of like the old DeLorean?
Yeah, I got a check from Fisker, and Fisker took the car back.
Got it. Interesting. At least that's what happened. Let me go to the next story with Tesla, because all this stuff going on, Tesla's had a closing at 2025 high after Musk confirms driverless robo-taxi test underway in Austin. Rob, do you have a video of that, of the robo-taxi test? I think it's good for us to see this here. Tom, so what is the story with this robo-taxi causing Tesla? Is this it? Yeah. Oh, let's take a look at this.
It's short. Amazing.
Is that real rap or is that a AI?
No, this is real.
That's actually happening.
Yep.
Okay. So robo-taxi in Austin causing Tesla stock to go up. Is it just that? Is it the additional robots they're talking about? What else is it that's causing Tesla to have record-breaking numbers in 2025 with their stock prices?
I think the stock price is going up because two major manufacturers just announced that they were going to be competing less with Tesla, number one. And number two, Tesla is funny. This announcement comes after Waymo runs into a poor guy in Arizona, after one of them ran into a construction site and got stuck in wet cement. That's a true story in San Francisco. The driverless taxi runs through cones and gets stuck in wet cement in a construction zone.
That's a true story?
It's a true story. Rob will find it. It's actually very, very, I think it was, what was not funny is I think it hit a woman, then it drove into a construction site, then it drove into wet cement. And so all of those stories of the starting of driverless
It's not a funny
taxis.
story, Tom. You're laughing like it's a funny story.
There it is. There it is. Forbes. Cruise. Robotaxi drives into wet concrete. Waymo shows off same. So it's like they had their teething pains, but now with full self-driving and other things, Tesla's coming out and saying, okay, teething pains for taxis. Everybody else takes the headlines. I've now got it going in Austin. It's working. So competitors off this here. And guess what? Those are all things, what do you think? It just feeds the stock price because all that is good news for Tesla.
Well, I think what we're watching is Tesla is going, Bitcoin, I always say, went from a contrarian trade to a consensus trade. What's happening with Tesla right now is you're watching basically the early adopters, right? These people, they bought this thing. Wall Street hated it. Every single person with a spreadsheet told you how Elon Musk is a fraud. He's lying. He can't, ever get profitable. This company sucks. And a bunch of people on the internet that are individuals who said, hey, I actually think that these cars are pretty good. I drove one. I went and sat in one. And I don't think it's a car company. I think it's a robotics company. I think it's a machine learning company. I think it's a data company. Now what you're seeing
it's a service station selling electricity to all the rest of the car makers.
Yeah, well, what you're seeing now is you're seeing the transition, right? You're seeing those early adopters essentially are being proven right because now you have all of Wall Street realize, wait a second, this isn't a car company. We were using the wrong comps the entire time. This is a robotics company. This is an AI company. And when you see that car driving on the road, it is really hard to say that this is just a car company. And then you realize that he's sending updates over the air via this software. But then you also see him using a lot of the same technology and saying, wait a second, if a car can do this, what if I can make a humanoid robot do this? And so now what he's really doing is he's expanding the total addressable market of this business, and he's finally convincing Wall Street and these large pools of capital that this is not a car company. This is a robotics and an AI company, and it's getting re-rated by these organizations. There's a lot of folks for a long time who said, I don't own Tesla because of all the issues. Now what they're realizing is, if I'm a public market investor and I want to invest in AI or robotics, what stock do I buy? Well, you can go buy NVIDIA, you can buy some power companies, you can buy some of the components or the infrastructure, but there's not a lot of companies where you can go buy exposure to the future of AI and robotics. And so, yeah, you can go buy Google stock, but you also get YouTube and search and all this other stuff. Tesla is probably the most pure play exposure in the public market to AI and robotics. And so now the world is convinced we need this. They realize that this company is going to be that company, and you see people piling in, stock price goes up. But the part that no one ever talks about is all those people who used to hold Tesla stock, they're still holding. They have this rabid fan base, and so they have this retail investor engagement or the cult of Elon around this stock. The fact that those people believe so fervently in the future of the stock means that they're not selling. And so when that new capital comes in, it's not like they just come and buy it from the existing shareholders at some reasonable price. They all are pushing the share price up. And so that's why you're seeing the explosive, it's up 10% in the last 5 days. It's just large pools of capital pouring capital in, and the people who currently hold the shares aren't willing to sell it because they've got a very long-term belief in the stock.
It's a stabilization
look at that.
effect.
Last month is up 21%. Last 5 days up
Crazy.
10%. Insanity. Tom, go ahead, finish
It's a
your thought.
stabilization effect. Remember in the old days where you would have, okay, who are the institutional investors in Hilton? And you had what was called the widows and orphan stock because it was a dividend. But you had 5 big institutions, Piper Jaffray, the old Merrill Lynch, the old Lehman Brothers. They each own 4.5%, staying under the 5% rule. And they said, well, we're not selling. We believe in it. They're opening more hotels. We're fine. Well, you multiply that out, Pat, suddenly you had 22% of the stocks not going anywhere. That was like a stabilizing anchor. because it reduces the volatility, because it's holding. And that's what you have. You have the people that, whether they're memes or fans or whatever it is, they are the equivalent. You just might as well call them as the entrenched holders are like a large institutional bank that actually brings stability to the stock.
Are you long Tesla because of Elon, or are you long Tesla because of Tesla? Like, is it at a point where it's flipped, where you're more long Tesla with Elon lower, or is it still you're long Tesla because of Elon?
I'm long Tesla by itself, but I'm very long Tesla because of Elon, because I believe what the next chapter will bring.
Is it more Tesla or more Elon? Give me the 50.
Oh, by far. I think it's not even close to the same company without Elon, because I don't think anybody else could like imagine what he wants to do with it. You know, like I think it's like gonna be like entrenched the way that Apple's entrenched in our lives, but like on a bigger scale, like the way that our phones and laptops are entrenched in our lives, like the cars and the robots that'll be in everybody's house someday, that'll be entrenched in everybody's lives. But like I don't think that anybody else is enough of a visionary.
So you don't think the company is yet at a point where it's not just because of the jockey, where the jockey is managing the horse. It's not the horse yet.
No, and
you're still leaning on the guy driving it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else like has the driver.
I wonder how many people feel that way.
But that's true of most companies, right? I mean, just look at Google. Google was getting their butt kicked and all this AI stuff and all the infrastructure, data centers, et cetera. And the founders came back, right? Open Door, another great example. The founders left, all of a sudden they came back. If you look at Amazon, I think a lot of people are saying, wait a second, are they behind? Bezos isn't there as much anymore. Look at Meta. They've been able to navigate multiple new technologies now because they've got the founder who's at the helm. You've got Elon, obviously, is a great example. I mean, you just go company by company by company. The companies that are still run by their founders tend to outperform the companies that are run by kind of professional managers. It's not a knock against the professional manager. It's just there's something different, right? There's this great...
I fully agree.
There's this great thought of the source of an idea is really important. Right, so even if you have two co-founders, who's the source? Who called who and said, "Hey, let's start a company"? Right, that person has intuition about something, sees the world a certain way, has a drive of something. Really said, "Hey, I want to go put this in the world." Elon is the epitome of that, and so I think that he's really important.
Well, we're talking about founders, and you know what? I was going to go to a different direction. Let's go Elon first, and I'll go to a founder story. This founder had this idea that she raised money and she could go buy a house in the Caribbean and do other things. But guys, that's a bad idea. We'll talk about that. But let's first recognize somebody that Musk's fortune soars above $600 billion on new SpaceX's valuation. You ready for this, folks? Elon Musk is about to be a trillionaire. Okay, this is page 9. Do I have page 9?
He's underpaid.
He's underpaid. You think he's underpaid?
100%.
I don't know if I disagree. So what is the new deal? The new deal they have with him is if he's able to get this number above $8.5 trillion, I think he's going to end up getting, what do you call it, $1 trillion in pay. He has to get the valuation above 850. But let me read this to you. This is SpaceX for you. That's with Tesla. It's not even with this company. So Musk's wealth has reached over $600 billion. World's richest person in the world is now worth $638. According to Bloomberg's Billionaire Index, the SpaceX had valuation of $800 billion in an hour share sale, a deal that makes the star-based Texas-based rocket maker the world's most valuable private company. Musk is its founder and CEO. Musk's 42% stake is now worth $317 billion after a liquidity discount applied to private companies. For the first time, an individual has been calculated to be worth more than $600 billion by Bloomberg's Wealth Index. Musk, 54, reached the $100 billion mark in 2020 as the value of Tesla Inc., where he was a CEO. And now you're talking about he was worth just $4.8 billion when he was added to the index in 2013. By the way, he was worth just like it's just a $4.8 billion guy in 2013. Pop, what's going on with this guy?
Well, if you think about how capitalism should work, whoever creates the most value for everybody else should end up with the most resources, right? Should end up with the most money.
Yep.
Name somebody who's done it better than him. The stat I just constantly cannot get out of my head is Elon Musk, for 30 years, for 3 decades, he has averaged the creation of a multi-billion-dollar company every 5 years for 30 years. There's nobody in the world who's ever done that before. It is incredible. And it's not like, oh, let me go do a roll-up of everybody else's businesses, and it's like financial engineering. It is from scratch, we're going to build a product to solve something at scale.
Insane.
It's crazy. So who should be richer than him, right? He's created more value for anybody else.
Should there be a cap on how wealthy he should be?
No, I actually think that if you give him money, right? So think of it this way. When he sold PayPal, I think he got $180 million. He took that money and turned it into $600 billion. We should be asking ourselves, how do we give this guy more money? I don't know if you saw the recent interview. He was asked, if you lost all your money, somebody took it all away from you and you had to start over again, how would you make $1,000 or something, right? Kind of a normal interview question. You expect them, I'd go do a lemonade stand or something. Mm-hmm. And he just looks at the interviewer and he says, well, I don't think it would take very long for me to make money back because I would just go ask people to give me some and I would turn it into more. Right? And he's like, I've been pretty good at doing that. And his point being that, like, people start to understand this guy is good at, if you give him resources, he will come back with many, many more resources for you. And so if you look at SpaceX, there's only 2 companies in the world, is my understanding, that have reusable rockets. And the second one, which is Blue Origin, just got it done after 20-something years. Elon is average. I don't know how many rocket launches they're doing on an annual basis now, but it's almost like one a day, I think. I mean, it is crazy how fast they have gone from this technology doesn't exist to being able to do that. And now he's talking about Starlink. He's going to beam the internet down, right? So if you control the internet, that's pretty valuable. And now he's even talking about doing data centers in space. And so you start to see all this come together and you're like, wait a minute, this guy is basically getting emboldened to be even bigger, to go even crazier. But maybe that's what the world needs. Right? Who else would sit here and say, let's put data centers in space? Like maybe the guy who was like, let's launch a rocket and bring it back down to Earth and use it again.
Do you think this whole civilization on a different planet is a reality with Elon?
I think that he genuinely would like to accomplish it. I think that he understands there's a lot of, physics involved in being able to do something. But when you look at the steps that he's taken, it's almost like he pushes from an innovation standpoint, figures out how to make a business out of it. Pushes again innovation-wise, figures out how to make a business. But the businesses are almost being used to drive profit so that he can then fund the next step of innovation. And so, one of the things he's been talking about, I'm blown away by the fact that in today's day and age, you can go on YouTube or the internet and you can listen to the world's richest man, the best entrepreneur of our lifetime, in his own words, talk for 2 hours. 100 years ago, that was impossible, right? I mean, maybe you read in the newspaper or something and you had no clue. It was, a one-line interview. What he's been talking about is all this focus on small reactors, all this stuff. He's basically like, stop fooling around with this stuff. Let's go put things in space and harness 24/7 access to the sun, which has this really powerful energy source, and we'll be able to use that to power both Earth and space. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what's going to end up being the right thing, but what I do know is you start talking like that, why is the company only worth $1.5 trillion? Right? You almost start to think to yourself, wait a second. I remember when people in the venture community were buying SpaceX stock at $10 billion, $20 billion valuation. How big could it get? There's not $100 billion companies. It's $1.5 trillion. We come back and do this again in 10 years. 10 billion, 20 billion, or 10 trillion,
yeah.
20 trillion. Like, I mean, how big could it get, right?
Yeah. A lot of it has to do with how to me, the operator better be protected because he's becoming more powerful than most countries as an individual. The amount of influence he has as an individual, not only financially, because the difference between him and a lot of, like when you said Google, if Sergey Brin and his partner went and did a podcast, or they tweeted something out, or posted something on Facebook, or something on their Instagram account, versus Elon goes and tweets something. He's not on Instagram. He's not on Facebook. He's not on YouTube. If he just goes tweet something, what is his reach with people? How much of a disruptor is he? What can he change? So to me, it's a very different animal of what he's doing, but he is more powerful than a lot of people. So he better have the best security in the world. He better be protected. He better be taking care of himself. He better have the right people, better have, like the smartest of the smartest and the most brutal people better be protecting this guy to make sure he sticks around long term. Tom, thoughts on Elon?
Well, first of all, I agree. And second of all, I think he is crazily underpaid. If you just did a simple, when you talk numbers that are so big that are beyond comprehension, you get an emotional reaction because the emotional reaction comes from the inability to comprehend. So when the average person thinks, $1 trillion, they're thinking about that from the perspective of a working person that's got good skills, that's out there trying to make a living, and they really can't fathom it. So the knee-jerk reaction is which the politicos use is that. On the other side of it, I just look at commission-based theory. And commission-based theory says, okay, everything you invent as a founder's share after dilution at Series D, Series E usually hovers around 27.5%. So if you take it, right, you got Series A, Series B, Series C, D, and you just look at that, you say, okay, well, let's just lock them at 30%, assuming all these companies, and then just add it up. And it's like commission-based theory. And then you add it up and you go, wow, that's not so crazy. And I look at it and I say, that's low, because he didn't have to do a Series A and give up 20%. He didn't have to do a Series B and give up 15% and then give up 12.5%, then give up 10%. The typical flow. He didn't have to do that. And so therefore his commission rate is higher. And you look at it and you say, wait a minute. I think he's already a trillionaire, because when I look at them saying, well, and we apply the private company discount, this is not a private company in a traditional sense. This guy walks up to Goldman the same way IBM walks up to Goldman and says, I need $100 billion in bonds. IBM makes that phone call and they say, what are you doing? Well, we're doing this thing, Cloud in the Sky and Big Blue, or whatever they call their thing. And they get it. Elon Musk can do the same thing. So he's not really a private company. So when you apply a private company discount, I think he's already a 1.5 trillion guy. I think he's already there.
Yeah, I've been saying this guy's going to be a trillionaire in the next 2 to 3 years for some time. I think he's a unique, very unique guy, very, very unique guy on what we have right now as an operator. It's not easy to handle pressure of one company, one board, one investor, times the amount he has, then to attract and hire people, then to have people move from areas to come to you because they want to work with you and run with you. That's a lot. It's a lot of different moving parts that you got. You got to applaud the hell out of it. From an operator to another operator, I have so many friends that ask me, why are you operating? Take your money and just invest and have a better life, and stop dealing with the pressures of hiring and doing. If you love it, you freaking love being in the arena. There's something about building businesses. There's something about building businesses. It sucks. It's hard. It's challenging. But if you love the game, you love the game. Nobody plays the game and loves the game more than this guy. You got to respect him. Brandon, thoughts on this?
Yeah, just like in terms of value creation, I mean, look at what NASA's created over the last 10 years, given $228 billion, then look at what SpaceX has created, given $20 billion over the past years. So it's wasted taxpayer money going towards what? So like everybody who works for NASA, for the most part, is paid with taxpayer money, and then Elon's creating jobs for people, and then creating a much better product that's going to take us to a place where we could potentially harness the energy of the sun. Which, by the way, I'm not sure if this is the exact stat, but I heard that if you harness all this energy from the sun for just one day, you could power the entire world for like 1,000 years. Because we don't even come close to like harnessing the full energy of the sun in a day. So if he starts flirting with that, then yeah, we have infinite energy. So yeah, most valuable thing you could possibly do. And I think he's gonna have the most powerful private army in the world in a couple of years when he gets this robot fleet going. So I think his security will be good with that.
Yeah, I appreciate the NASA comment, but just look at this. The Department of Transportation under Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg attempted to build charging stations. Attempted to be entrepreneurial, build charging stations, and look at the multi-billion-dollar bill that the American people paid, and I do not think they built their 50th station.
Do you think when he went into Doge and he did what he did with Doge, do you think some of his long-term motives were revealed? Like, do you think he thinks that was a good move? Do you think he thinks it was a right move for him, or no?
He got a lot from that.
I think that if he could go in and the only goal was to make the government efficient, he would have been very successful. What I think he realized was there's a lot of people who don't want it to be efficient. There's a lot of people who are actually benefiting from the waste, abuse, the fraud, all this stuff, right? I mean, if you look at the Minnesota situation, I mean, it's just crazy. And some of it is not even economic, right? Some of it is just, I don't want to offend anybody. So I know you're doing something bad, but I'm going to let you keep doing it type thing. So you can't take his skill set, his expertise of going in. And I mean, you ever seen the visual of the rocket engine and how it's like really complex, and then all the iterations, and eventually it's like this beautiful, very sleek, simple thing, right? That's basically what we want to do to the government, but you can't do that because there's a bunch of people with their hand in the cookie jar. Now, I know a number of people who are close with Elon, and I think that they regret all of the wasted time. Right? If you think about like what they could have accomplished instead of spending their time doing that. But at the same time, I think that he understands having a monopoly on attention is a very powerful thing. Him and Trump, I think, are very similar in that sense. And so Elon Musk is more famous today than he was before, even if some portion of those new people don't like him. But remember when they were protesting outside the Tesla showrooms? They were setting him on fire. They were saying he was, a fascist, all this crazy stuff. Stock's at an all-time high. So in a weird way, it actually didn't have the long-term impact that, Tim Wall standing on stage screaming and yelling about the stock's going down. I think it's doubled since then.
We were an after party in D.C. I don't know if it was inauguration. I don't know what it was. Was it inauguration?
Yeah, it was inauguration week.
We're in our inauguration. We're at this house. And Rob, were you with us? Were you at the house? Yeah, so we're at this house. How do you describe this house? Like a party house. Like it was Dwight Howard's previous house.
Like a bachelor pad.
It was Dwight Howard's previous. It's exactly a bachelor pad. Like where would you like to live? And also word gets out that Elon's coming to the party. Great. My son is there. Tom and my son are on the rooftop screaming at the fascists. I come out. So I'm trying to find my son. I'm like, he's either making out with somebody or he's got a bad influence. Let me go make sure he's not being, taken advantage of. Because at the time he was 12 years old. Yeah, 12 years old.
I thought what we did was funny. We got up on the roof and we yelled back at the people. And we sang to them the old John Lennon song, "All we are saying is give fascism a chance."
And they're screaming at Tom. By the way, the rooftop's probably 5 stories high, and they're cursing Tom and my son. And they're just saying. And so, anyways, afterwards, we decide to leave. We go downstairs. We have security with us, and there's 40 cops outside. One guy starts spitting on my security guard, and he lands one on him. And they arrested him right there. They took him. It was pretty nasty on what happened because that time, Elon is coming in and he's doing what he's doing. Yeah, did you find a house or no?
That's a good security guard. He's willing to take one for you.
Yeah, he's willing to. Is that the house, Rob?
Yep.
That's the house. That's the rooftop. So visualize Tom and my 13-year-old son all the way up top right there. Exactly where it's pointing. Screaming at these guys and singing. I'm like, what kind of an influencer are you, Tom? I thought you were going to teach this guy some good things, but who knows? Maybe they both have an
Tico
edgy
said
side.
he had a very good time.
He did have a very good time. By the way, this is the engine you were talking about, Pomp. So when Pomp talked about it, this is the engine on how the evolution, how far we're going.
And that's a visual of what they wanted to do to the government. And, obviously they ran into a lot of roadblocks.
Well, the government employees, government people on the top prefer the left. The establishment wants the furthest one to the left, not the one to the right. Because you don't want it to be efficient. You want to be able to show we need 200,000 jobs. Not really. We can get this thing done with 890 people. No. We need 200,000 jobs of people who never show up to work. So check this out, folks. Okay. Sometimes you have to learn what not to do. This is a story of what not. We just got an example of Elon of what to do. Here's what not to do. The FBI is investigating a startup founder accused of using VC money to pay for her house and a Caribbean wedding. It's a bad idea, but she thought it was a good idea. It's a Business Insider story. Shiloh Lucky, great name. Founder and CEO, is this her, Rob?
Yep.
Founder and former CEO of Compilant, an LA-based tax compliance startup that raised more than $13 million from top venture capitalists. It's under criminal investigation for alleged security and bank fraud, according to court filings. In a civil complaint, the SEC has charged Lucky with violating securities laws for using millions of dollars of company funds to pay for a home, Super Bowl tickets,
Oh my God.
and a destination wedding in the Caribbean. The SEC alleges she painted a rosy picture of the company booming revenue with Compilant, never brought in more than 600 and you ready for this? Never brought in more than $620 in monthly revenue. Oh now, not $620,000, $620. Like, this is more than an FLB shoe. That's the most. That means she only sold one FLB shoe in her career. Reached by telephone, Lucky said, I don't have anything to offer, and hung up. Startups face far less regulatory scrutiny from public companies, and founders sometimes present over Optimistic growth stories like VCs rush to fund hot companies with limited diligence. After high-profile scandals like Theranos and FTX, regulators have taken the tougher line. Startup founders cannot fake it until they make it by falsifying revenues. Metrics, SEC Regional Director Monique Winkler said, including the 7-year prison sentence for Charlie Javis and fraud. Anyways, a bunch of different people on top of this. So here's a question. Tom, you've been part of $2.2 billion of exits, raising money. You got a bunch of deal toys in your office, and you've done a bunch of different things. How the hell do you, one, do something this stupid, and how do you as an investor fall for somebody like her?
Well, first of all, once the investors made their investment, there's a board involved. And what's not stated in the story is who called the regulators? Who called the SEC? Somebody called the SEC. And I'll tell you who called the SEC. One of the investors. One of the investors called the SEC after getting rid of the rest of the investors and saying, okay, this is probably now a smoking crater, meaning the money is evaporated and there'll be no follow-on and there'll be no value to sell. So I'm not standing for this crap. And they called the regulator. That's what happened. Because one of the biggest things, whenever we did a round of financing, the board always had visibility access to the capital accounts. So you get $10 million. And this is how it works, Pat. And you saw this on a lesser scale, but you were an established company with expansion capital with a demonstrated track record of being responsible in building your company. These are pure startup people. And pure startup, it goes like this. Okay, the $10 million will come in. We're going to leave $2 million in the checking. You're going to put $8 million into this CD, and you're going to use it over the next 6 months. But they have visibility to the account balances. They have observation rights of the accounts. And so when she starts doing this, unfortunately, these founders think that when they've received the money, hey man, I'm rich and I can go and I got to fake it till I make it. And what happens is one of the investors, I believe, it's not stated, but my gut tells me one of the investors called the regulator and said, we got this thing. Somebody needs to take this chick down. We're going to write this thing off, and it's a smoking crater, and we need some help here. And then somebody who wants to continue with their career in public prosecution says, okay, I'll take the case. So now Charlie Javits, that defrauded JP Morgan on the Frank app for student loans. And then Elizabeth Holmes at Theranos, who did everything she could to get pregnant and have babies to avoid incarceration after she was found guilty. That's what she did. So all they need is, you know what? We need one more woman to commit fraud so the four of them could play bridge, because it takes four to play bridge. One more woman and we could have this. But this is hubris. And the biggest hysterical point to me, she named the company Compliant.
Tom, stop it.
You know what the best part of the story is?
What's that?
She didn't trick a single good investor. If you think about it, all of the people on the cap table, they're not known for being world-class investors. If you think of Theranos, none of the top Silicon Valley investors were in there. The system is designed where the best in the world, they understand this stuff. They can sniff this stuff out. They avoid investing in this. And so usually when I see these stories and I go look at the cap table, you will almost never see the top investors. Now, FTX was a little bit different, right? That was one of the, I think that's why that story was so explosive, was the best investors in the world actually were investors. But if you go through many of these things, and this one in particular, I don't recognize a single person who's on that cap table, both in terms of firms, people, et cetera. And so, if you don't have the best investors in the world investing, that either means that they looked at it and they saw some red flag and they avoided investing, or how good was the governance? How good was the financial controls? How good was, whatever.
Pomp, $5.5 million seed round for the company was led by Kraft Ventures, a VC firm co-founded by David Sachs.
Oh, Kraft Ventures is in there. Yeah, I take that back. I take that back. David. Oh, no, David. Go to the cap.
Oh,
the
my
cap table.
God, are you kidding me?
The list I saw did not have Kraft on it. Go. Can you pull up the compliant cap table?
Yeah, let me see where I'm getting this article from.
Let's go to Crunchbase. Let's see if they've got the...
Yeah, there you go. It says it's from Business Insider. It says
who else is on there?
Here, let me send it to you.
The other thing, just while you're pulling that up, that the other article had was she was telling investors they went from $2,500 a month in revenue to $250,000.
Yep.
And one of the things about the venture world is the venture world would break down if every single update, every single number that was shared with a private investor was audited. And so there is this element of trust.
Yeah.
I think that goes into these updates, et cetera. And so obviously that ends up being a huge problem. Is there not a full cap table?
25.5 million out of City Craft Ventures.
Yeah. So Craft Ventures is the one. The other ones, they're not necessarily known as really big venture funds. But Craft, man,
Craft was in it. Yeah, I'm looking her up just to see how this happens. So her name was Shiloh Johnson. She starts a compliant company as a tax compliance startup. Let me say this again to you. So she starts a tax compliance company, and she uses the money to go to Super Bowl, fund her wedding, and buy a place in Caribbean. And is there even a video of how she speaks and what she says, Rob?
Yes, I think.
She must be captivating.
That's it, Shiloh Johnson.
Yep,
Let me just
Shiloh
see
Johnson.
how good of a salesperson she is. Let's just see what she sounds like.
What we build, and it actually can be a good thing. I think at first it's like gum and prayer.
In 2019, when you started, how old were you when you jumped
his
ship?
voice.
That
sounds
would
amazing.
be 4 years ago, so I was 34.
And you have some key numbers to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 3 years since it hit the market.
Yeah, I'd say for comparison or understanding, I'm the solo founder, so I was the first person in the company, first employee. And last 3 or so years, we are now 56 employees. We went from 1 to 4 to 11 to 25 to now 56. So that's really exciting. I've been able to raise now a little over 13.3 million, which is cool. And not an easy feat for someone that looks like me in the US. So that's been really exciting.
Okay, I
We
got
serve
it.
about
And now
Yeah.
she says that.
Just
but think
play.
about-
What is she about
going.
to say? What is she
Keep
about to say?
9,000 or so small businesses that find us usually via mobile. We're pretty popular in the mobile world. Yeah, that's what we're doing, how we're doing it.
That's phenomenal
So she
growth.
doesn't say
Over
revenue. I thought she was going to say a revenue number there.
Uh,
9,000 businesses, $250 of monthly revenue.
How you do that, I don't know.
Like I'd be
I
giving
don't
it
know.
away for free.
She
right?
has the audacity to say, and it's hard for somebody to look like me to do that. But then, like in the background, she's doing this. So like that's some serious audacity.
Well, in her SEC case filing, her age is listed 41. So I don't know when that interview was. Her TikTok account is followed by tens of thousands of people where she presents herself as sharing expertise on personal finance and taxes. Well, she's going to be in jail helping some people out with their finances. It's funny because yesterday I had the former president of Honduras, who was just pardoned by the president, who originally was accused of funneling 400 tons of cocaine. And it was here yesterday on the podcast. And we did a 2-hour interview. And by the way, the audience, this is the guy that they're saying, how the hell does Trump's administration pardon a drug cartel that took money from El Chapo, and his brother even built cocaine with another guy named El Cinco and another guy named El Rojo that he was friends with the block of cocaine, had his brother's initial on it, TH, Tony Hernandez. Anyways, he's going to make... Why are you laughing, Tom?
You can't make this up.
I'm telling you his story. You're judging this guy. This guy's been away from his family all the time. You think this is funny stuff. He's been in prison. And by the way, where I'm going with this is he was in prison
With SBF, right?
With SBF. Yeah. You know, I said, so who were you in prison with? He said, I was in prison with, Sam Bankman-Fried. And every day for a year and a half, they became good friends, and Sam helped him out with his case. I said, who else were you in prison with? He says, I was in prison with a major producer. You guys know his name. He's a very big mogul. He's a music mogul. Diddy. I said, Diddy? He says, yes, Diddy. I was in prison with Diddy. As you were in prison with Diddy? How long? He says, 2 months. I said, what stories do you have with him? I used to tell him one time he was getting mad with another person over what TV station to watch the news, and they were fighting. I said, it's not worth it. Just pick your battles. Pick your fights. I said, he was probably watching a documentary is what he was doing. And then he says, there was this other rapper. His name is Robert 6ix9ine. I said, Robert 6ix9ine?
No way.
Yeah, I said, Tekashi 6ix9ine? He said, by the way, the stories were insane. So, Shiloh, you're about to go have similar stories.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine them all hanging out?
What is that? I mean, the stories are going to come out with.
Diddy, SBF, Juan,
Wait a minute.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Hang on. I have an idea.
What TV station to watch?
You do the SPF. You do the money. I got the drugs. You make a record label. Let's make a comeback. All we got to be is pardoned.
There was a song like that back.
I'll
in
be
the
right
days.
back.
What does it say? I've got the brains. You've got the looks. Let's make lots of money. Who sang that song? By the
All
way?
we need is the Honduran guy.
I don't know who it was, but it's actually a very interesting interview that'll come out here tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Man, what a rough situation with this Shiloh girl. Poor girl looking
Pet
like
Shop
that.
Boys.
Yeah, Pet Shop Boys. Is that what it was? Yeah. Pet Shop Boys. Yeah. I've got the brains. I'll stop singing, but it's a good song. It's a good song. All right. McDonald's folks, tell me if this commercial will make you or your kids go to McDonald's for a Happy Meal or a Big Mac. McDonald's thought it was a good idea to make an AI-generated Christmas ad, but they got so much backlash that the marketing team was like, guys, take that down. This isn't good. Watch this for yourself and tell us if you like it or not. Go ahead, Rob.
It's the most terrible time of the year. All the shops turn to mayhem, even Santa knows space, and the tree redecorated your place. It's the most terrible time of the year. The roast turned to charcoal, and the cookies burned too. Freaking chaos, it feels like a zoo. It's the most terrible time of the year. So you flee from the madness, the lights, and the cheer, and hide out in McDonald's till January's here.
I like it.
You like it?
Well, white people got a problem with it.
But you being honest, you're joking.
I swear.
Okay.
I swear.
By the way, I liked it from the marketing standpoint as well. It's what I said yesterday.
Yeah,
I had never seen
noise.
it. I thought it was good, but apparently they took it down. Brandon, do we know why they took it down?
Too much backlash, which is a terrible move, I think. Like, just lean into it at that point.
Keep it, meaning if you're already in it.
And that's a win, too, to piss people off with marketing. I think that's a win because it's, like, attention's the name of the game, right?
Isn't that what
do
Sydney
they not
Sweeney
like
did?
it? Do they not like it because of the AI, or do they not like it because of the message?
Worst time, like...
Yeah, so they're mad about the Christmas being a terrible time, not about it being AI.
This commercial was produced for McDonald's in Netherlands, just so you know. Not Compton, Netherlands, but we have decided to remove our AI-generated Christmas advert, spokesperson said. It was intended to reflect the stress moments that can occur during the holidays in the Netherlands. But we recognize that for many of our guests, the season is the most wonderful time of the year. We respect that and remain committed to creating experiences that offer good times and good food for everyone. This moment serves as an important learning as we explore the effective use of AI.
Imagine Elon saying something and people having backlash and him taking it down and saying, oh, sorry, and issuing a statement that says, like basically AI generated PR statement. Never.
That would never happen with them.
No, but they're just covering their butts.
Yeah, that would never happen with them. Tom, you're a family guy, you got girls, but you also have a dark sense of humor. I think you liked it. There's a part of me that I think you liked it.
It's picking on the stress and things, people getting gifts and snow and ice and, oh, come on. And it's got this homage back to Clark plugging in the Christmas tree and, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Rob, can you run a poll?
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation,
Exactly.
Griswold, shutting down the neighborhood because of all the lights he put up. I think it's funny, and it talks about this. And now the back end of it is, hideout McDonald's the beginning of the year. It's kind of tongue in cheek. So if there was a group of people that says, hey, you're really picking on Christmas, I don't think they were picking on Christmas. I think they were picking on, getting together. I mean, I was making jokes about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, the only holiday in America where you get together with everybody around the table that's a little too small, including the 3 cousins you don't like, and give everyone a knife. So it's like, it's like that's Thanksgiving in America, right? So
yeah,
I don't think there was anything wrong with it. And I think McDonald's knee-jerked. And I think what I would have done if I was McDonald's is, hey, we're picking on the stress of holiday season. We're not picking on anything else. Can you lighten up a little bit? Aren't you kind of making my point? If I was the CEO, that's what I said. You're kind of making my point. that you're taking it kind of serious? I'm not picking on. Look, there was not one thing in there like desecrating the manger or a nativity scene. They didn't cross that line. It was all of the things we go through celebrating, and in the cold and the slush and the wind, and Christmas carolers are trying to sing there with cold wind. So that's never happened. You've never seen that? Come on.
Netherlands. Man, some sensitive people live in Netherlands.
Well,
I thought they were good. Aren't they pretty good at soccer at times?
Well,
you can't be good at soccer and be that sensitive.
You know what they left out in the Netherlands?
Really?
Yeah. All the Nordic countries, I think, are pretty sensitive.
Why is that? Why do you think they're sensitive?
I don't know, because there's not a lot of problems there.
What's in the food? Is it the food? Is it the drinks? Is it the beer?
I thought they were going to be upset about the AI.
It's the reindeer.
That's why
Big
when
Mac.
I saw them take it down, I thought that they were going to be like, "Oh, you used AI to do this. You killed jobs." Like, yeah, the fact that it was about
you know what
Christmas.
they didn't add? This is Netherlands. All they had to add was one thing: is Max Verstappen opening up a present, and
Is
it
he
says,
Netherlands?
Yeah. Says all they needed was Max to open up a box that says 2 points.
Has anybody ever seen Max's interviews? This is like the last guy who is sensitive. He holds nothing back. By the way, he should have won, and he didn't. But we already talked about that. If you want to entertain yourself, watch Max and his father in interviews, and you tell me who's got a foul mouth more, him or his father.
By the way, he had a baby. He had a baby this year. Scroll down a little bit and look who his wife is.
Who's his wife?
Kelly Piquet.
Oh, wow.
Daughter of three-time world champion Nelson Piquet.
From Brazil. Good for him. By the way, Bolsonaro likes Nelson Piquet more than he likes Senna, and I was not happy about that. I was not happy about
Let's
that.
throw his ass in prison.
So funny.
Sorry. Too soon?
You guys want to talk about the AI product you built?
I'm trying to find the story to go to, but take the lead.
Yeah,
Tell us about what's going on with that.
No, the product that you guys built. Let's talk about yours first, and then we'll talk about the one we built.
Just go to it. Just talk about what's going on, because I think what's important is, well, let me go with this, and then let's go into what you're talking about, because it has to do with the same thing. McKinsey plots thousands of job cuts in slowdown for consulting industry, okay? And we know McKinsey. Then when it comes down to consulting, they're the cream of the crop. Founder James McKinsey, and then the guy, the godfather that helped build the company, a man named Marvin Bauer. Go to any McKinsey office and drop the name Marvin Bauer. Look what they'll say about him. Marvin Bauer is the man that's respected by anybody and everybody who's ever worked at McKinsey. But let me tell the story. So McKinsey & Company gathered in the consulting giant's birthplace in late October. Bob Sternfeld delivered a rally cry. "We will kick some ass as we start our second century," the firm's top executive told the thousands of attendees. But away from the 100-year festivities in Chicago, McKinsey's bosses have been conveying a more pragmatic message. It's time to get leaner. The firm's leadership has discussed with managers in non-client-facing departments they need to cut about 10% of headcount across their business, according to people with knowledge of the matter. That could amount to a few thousand job cuts that McKinsey would stagger over the next 18 to 24 months. The people said, asking not to be identified because the details are private. For McKinsey, the go-to advisor for companies and countries, it's the type of cost-cutting approach that its consultants often prescribe to clients. The firm's revenue growth has flattened in the past 5 years. As our firm marks 100 years, we're operating in a moment shaped by rapid advances in AI that are transforming businesses and society, a McKinsey spokesman said. Just as we're partnering with clients to strengthen their organization, we're on our own journey to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of our own support functions. What do you think this is consulting industry? Do you think this is AI? What do you think is going on here?
This is going to be the story of business for the next decade. Okay. I mean, this is the single most important thing that people got to pay attention to is if you look across public markets, there's a couple things that I find very interesting. Companies that are talking about using AI are outperforming the companies that are not talking about using AI. Why is that? What does AI do? Artificial intelligence. You take superhuman intelligence and you apply it to a problem. There's this great interview that I heard, and they said, if you can verify something, you can automate it, right? So what does McKinsey do? McKinsey creates reports, and it creates presentations, and it creates outcomes that they then suggest to people. So as you look across all these public companies and also these consulting firms, et cetera, is all of the leaders are saying the same thing. We are going to produce more revenue, but we are going to do it with less people. What that means is that they are going to become more efficient companies. If they become more efficient, they're more productive, lower cost, then that should mean that they are more profitable. More profitable means they should be more valuable. So everything in the capitalistic structure says go and use this AI to be more productive, do it with less employees. Now, when you see that happening from an investor seat, you say, well, I want to invest in companies where they're becoming more efficient, more profitable, more productive. What I think is more interesting is what is happening for the average person. So I'll give you a couple of examples. The first is there are these new coding tools. So you can go and there's Cursor, Windsurf, et cetera. What you do is you go in and you basically say, hey, I want to write code. So I'm a human that wants to write this code, but I need help. And that help historically would mean I would need a team of 5, 10, 20 different engineers that would also be producing code next to me. Well, maybe what I could do is I could write code, but also I could have the AI write some code as well. Now, I, as one human, just became more productive. That productivity tool means that I contribute more to my company. I produce more revenue, right, at a lower cost. And so that's good for the company. It's good for me too, because guess what? I'm more productive as an engineer, et cetera. Those tools are very valuable. I know you guys have built something in the HR space, very similar, right? Can you start to automate some of this? You guys can talk about that in a second. What we did is we built something called Sylvia, so CFO Sylvia. And in this product, what we found very interesting is wealthy, rich people, they have entire teams that are focused on helping them manage their finances and address all of their financial life. So you go and you have an accountant and you've got a financial advisor, you've got a tax expert, you've got a lawyer, you've got all this stuff. They're very expensive teams. But again, if you can verify something, then you can go and you can manage it. And so what we did is we basically created a product where you go and you sign up. You attach all of your accounts, your bank account, your crypto account, your brokerage account, your credit card. You can put your real estate, your car, your collectible, private invest, everything into this thing. It'll track your net worth. But then we created tons of AI agents and AI that you can then go and start talking to Sylvia. Now, what's interesting about this is you can do simple things. What's your bank account? What's your cash balance? What's your debt to equity ratio? But what I find really interesting is you can do something like upload your tax returns and ask Sylvia, how do I get my tax rate down? Now Sylvia is going to say, well, what's in your tax return? What's in your portfolio? And what are information on the internet? And bring all that stuff together. I even can go in there and I can say something like, Pat, if you upload all of your finances, let's run a Monte Carlo simulation. And we're going to run 100,000 simulations using state-of-the-art AI. And it is going to predict where you are going to be financially in 10 years. And it can do that in like 2 to 3 minutes. The way it's doing it is it's actually writing custom code, writing Python in the background, right, to go and do this. Then we've seen people go in and they'll say, you know what I want to do? I'm thinking about buying Tesla stock. I heard these guys talking about it. Sounds interesting. You can go and you can ask the AI, do deep research on Tesla stock and let me know whether you think I should actually have this in my portfolio. Well, usually if I asked you that, you would tell me a very watered down version of what you think about Tesla stock. But because it's superhuman intelligence, it will go and it will do fundamental analysis, technical analysis, sentiment analysis. It'll present a pro argument, a con argument, but then it'll even tell you things like, you know what, you've got a lot of tech stocks. You probably want a smaller allocation because you're very correlated to tech. Or it may say to you, one-time purchase versus dollar cost averaging over time, right? These are things that a human, it would take way too long to do. And so this product, people can go try it out. It's cfosylvia.com. When you go to CFO Sylvia, it basically gives you super intelligence in your pocket to apply towards your finances. McKinsey says, well, wait a second. If you can do this for general purpose questions like on a Google, if you can do this for finance with something like CFO Sylvia, how hard would it be for us to generate a presentation, a consulting report, a answer to a customer question, like all this stuff, right? And so you start to apply this over and over and over again throughout the economy. You're squeezing inefficiency out. You're giving productivity to the people, right? The CFO Sylvia is free. So you go and when you start using this thing, all of a sudden now you don't need to go hire a bunch of people. So the reason why I say this is the conversation for the next decade, if I don't have to go hire, let's say an investment professional, because now I have superhuman intelligence doing it. Well, where does that person go? Where do they go and earn a living? Where does the money that I'm saving, not buying, hiring them,
Where do you think
where does
they
that
go? Where do you actually think they go?
I think it's a very complex, nuanced conversation because each one is different. So the factory worker that gets replaced by a humanoid robot has a very different outlook and opportunity than the white-collar worker who, would go and normally work at a family office as an investment professional.
Tell me why.
Well, if you are a knowledge worker or a white-collar worker, one, you actually think you're not the one that gets automated away. So that's actually that's the biggest thing is like it's not clear to you that you're the one that's in the target of the AI, kind of train. The second thing is there's going to be a bifurcation of those people. One of the things as we've built the Sylvia product, if you're an RIA, if you're a financial advisor, you could sit there and say, you know what, this thing's going to put me out of work, right? People aren't going to have to talk to me. They can just talk to AI. That's bad for me. The smartest RIAs, they've been calling us up and they've been saying, hey, you know what? We want to try to use this product. We're going to give it to our clients and we want to have access to the account because now our clients can ask more questions. They don't want to email me every day. They feel awkward doing that, right? They might not want to tell me everything about their finance because they're embarrassed or they're taking risk or whatever. But they'll do it with the software and then I can help them because I see what they're interested in, what questions they're asking. I get more data and access, all that stuff. So the story of technology has always been embracing technology usually actually separates people. And so if you think about McKinsey, they could sit there and say, you know what? We're not going to use AI. We're not going to touch this stuff. Well, there's a lot of people who are just going to say, I don't need McKinsey to use AI. I'm just going to go to ChatGPT or whatever. I'm going to tell it to create the presentation.
And by the way, that's what they're going through right now, just so you know that.
Of course.
I had a conversation with a senior partner at McKinsey, and very successful guy. He's the type of guy that makes 8 figures. He's done very well for himself. And I said, so what's the biggest thing you've experienced with AI disruption at McKinsey? He says, I'll give you an idea. He says, go to ChatGPT when it first came out. I wanted to test what we read with McKinsey. Client comes in, we need to write a report for him. Okay, we go, we do our thing. So one night I just sit there and I feed ChatGPT the intel that I want to feed it. You know, boom, 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 boom. Write me a report. It spits out the report. I take it, I send it just to see how the team's going to react. The team looks at it, they get back to me and they said, we know this is ChatGPT, but holy shit, that this is what ChatGPT can do.
Without any training, without any customization.
Any training,
Just
Tom.
like off the shelf.
Without any training. So what he's trying to say is, go ahead, Tom.
No, he cranked out it was a preliminary due diligence report.
You're
crazy.
But by the way, this is not 2 or 3. This is not Gemini 3. This is the first one that came out. So they're sitting there saying, wait a minute, this product that's a $500,000 product. Now what do we do with this product? So maybe it's not 100% what we would do with our experience, because it's not. But what if it's 90%? What is a 93% of what we can do worth to them? Is it worth them just going through ChatGPT and paying $20 a month or $40 a month, whatever it is? I think that's the part with the consulting side that is changing the game for a lot of these bigger guys. And what I wonder is the following. I've been because our consulting firm has grown exponentially. And we're helping a lot of these mid-sized, like even this year we did a business planning workshop. Our attendance was skyrocketed over last year. These are people around the world that are paying, that are doing, and how quickly the engagements are turning. Guy comes in, does a day with us on consulting, on business planning for 2026, runs a business, got the guy we were with 2 nights ago, we went and visited this guy in Dallas, got a $250 million EBITDA. Good size EBITDA, good business. He's got 70 locations, 30 countries, so it's a successful guy. And then you're talking to these guys coming and say, hey, we'd like to do an engagement with you. Why? Because we're curious how you did X, Y, Z. We're interested in this. So I think the consulting space is going to be disrupted by expert operators. I don't know if the value of back in the days when Marvin Bauer, for every 5 new hires that they would bring on board to McKinsey, 2 were from Harvard. James McKinsey did a phenomenal job establishing that relationship with Harvard, where 2 out of 5 were Harvard. But that doesn't, I talked to another guy, another senior partner from BCG, and he says the days of you valuing an MBA from Harvard is not the same. He says today, craziest thing he told me, I was telling this to my niece 2 days ago, my sister Paulette and Grace, I said, what he said is, we prefer, he says, we're having more success bringing gritty guys or gals that went to University of Florida, but they didn't get accepted into the school that they wanted. Even though University of Florida, Tom, I think is a top 7 school. What do you put it? Number 7?
That's exactly right. Number 7 of American public universities.
Think about that. So he's like, we like that second, because the Harvard guys are coming and they're like, well, yeah, so they're harder to work with. These other guys are coming up. So I don't know. I don't know how this disruption is going to change. For us, when it comes down to HireMetrics, and what we did is the following. When we came out with HireMetrics, Rob, if you want to pull it up, I looked at this last year. Okay, last year we had 11,000 resumes that we got for the entire year. Of the 11,000 resumes that we got the entire year, Pomp, we interviewed 1,300 of them. We can't get to the entire 11,000, and neither should we, right?
Yep.
But
so around 15% or so.
Right. Yeah. Did we hire the right people? I don't know. Did we hire based on bias? I don't know. But if you go to hiremetrics.com, on hiremetrics.com, what we did with this year, we've gotten 35,000 resumes. And so the 35,000 resumes, this is a leak that we found in our business. All of a sudden, I keep going around asking everybody, hey, how you doing, man? So, meet some new person I get started. So where are you from? New Jersey. All right, cool. Where are you from? New Jersey. Where are you from? New Jersey. Look, there's an epidemic going on here in the company.
Somebody from New Jersey got a job here and turned around and hired a bunch of people.
Watch what happened, but not in a bad way.
No,
the guy's still with us. We love him. He's been with us 4 years. Rob, where are you from, Rob?
New Jersey.
Okay. How many New Jersey people do we have here?
Quite a bit. I would say it's maybe 10%.
Think about that. Of the 150 employees, 10% are from Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm like, let me go to HR. 50% of our HR department is from New Jersey. So what is the icebreaker? Where are you from, Pomp? New Jersey. No way. What part? Well, I went to such and such school.
Yep.
Man, I went to, no, we used to play you guys down. Well, did you go to that pizza? Okay, so there's what we did with Hire Metrics, that every interview that comes in, we want them to go through here. Hire Metrics does an AI interview with you. You upload your resume. After you upload, there's a bunch of job openings. You can go and see it. You can upload your resume. After you upload your resume, you do a 5-minute interview. It asks you the question. It knows if you are using AI to answer the AI questions. You can throw the AI off. Somebody that's watching this right now, go test it for yourself and ask funny questions. Like Tom will say, you know what, I will not work anywhere near Adam and I need to get paid this. Ha, ha, ha. Tom, I like your sense of humor. We appreciate sense of humor here. However, can we get back and be focused a little bit? When it comes onto this question, how would you handle this issue? And it'll come back in the reporting, it'll say, this person interviewed well, lots of competency. He did get distracted. He made one disturbing comment. I'm not sure if that should be considered for applying or not, but it's something we ought to be thinking about. And then they give a score. And me as the business owner, I can say, I only want to interview people that scored over 80 or over 70 or whatever. And it spits out that alert to you and you kind of see what came in. So the part with us when we're looking at AI is, I want to interview the 35,000 resume. I want all of them. And if an AI can do that for us and spit out a score for them, and then we can say, look at that guy. Why did that guy get an 89? Why did he score an 87? And then he comes in or she comes in, you're like, wow, very, very impressive. So specialized skill, competency, and culture. Is there a match? Is there a fit for the company? But that's the reason why we came up and we created Hire Metrics specifically for us. And now guess who's asking for it? Our clients that we serve. They're like, can we do it?
Here's what's interesting to me is, so let's just say that you have the 35,000 people who apply. If you were to hire people to go interview every single one of them, let's say somebody could interview 10 people a day, 5 days a week, right? You start doing the math. You're like, you would have to hire a lot of people to go and do this and be able to do it successfully. But what is happening in the interview? I mean, you just described it, right? You're asking a question, you're receiving information, you're synthesizing that information, and then you are making a conclusion. Like, that's what a computer can do now. That is what an LLM is built to do. But here's the part that I think that people have not yet caught on. So everyone knows about AI. They go and they use ChatGPT, et cetera. Hire Metrics. I'm guessing you guys either already doing this or are about to do this. CFO Sylvia, we've started to do this, et cetera. McKinsey as well. You start to build task-specific AI agents. What does that mean? So today, if I come in and I say, hey, Patrick, I need help with my business, you got to be able to understand finance, marketing, operations, right? HR, all these different things, and you're looking at it holistically. But ideally, what I could do is I could come and I could say, hey, Patrick, I need your team of experts, these 25 different people who are all experts in each individual 25 fields, and can they help me? Well, with these task-specific AI agents, if you go back to the CFO Sylvia thing, for example, there's an AI agent that should be able to just answer the question, read my tax returns, telling me how to get my tax rate down. Another agent should be really good at saying, evaluate this company for me. Another agent should be really good at saying, what is like, one of my favorite questions to ask, you attach all your accounts, what will happen to my portfolio in the next recession? And it's good. It'll go and figure out what happened in all the prior recessions and which assets drew down, how much, the correlations, all stuff. And then it'll look at your portfolio and then it'll spit out and say, hey, you know what? You got a lot of tech stocks. In the next recession, if tech goes down, you may lose 30% of your exposure. By the way, if you got a lot of cash, you're going to be just fine, right? And it can do this, but it's task-specific AI agents. And so I think that at McKinsey, they're not just going to have one single AI that can do everything.
They have to adjust. They don't have a choice. They have to adjust because these questions are being asked. And so here's my question, Tom. I'm going to come to you with this one here. And Pomp, I'm going to come back to you with this, Brandon. Keep thinking about this.
I got you.
AI replacing jobs has been probably on the top 5 fear porn channels the last 5 years. Is that fair to say AI has been the top 5 fear porn stuff that people have been worried about? You know, we had COVID, we had 5G, we had surveillance, we had all this stuff, but you can put AI as one of them. Okay, fine. The more and more I think about AI, the less and less I worry about the individuals losing their jobs. And I'll tell you why from my standpoint. Tom, I'm going to come to you first, and then I'll give my thoughts. With the stuff that he's talking about, with the stuff that I'm talking about with AI, how nasty you think AI is going to end up being for the average person that's got a job? How nasty you think it's going to be for the average person running a small business? I'm running a small business. You know, we'll sit down a lot of time with some business owners, Pomp, and they're still using manual, like,
of course,
manual. They're doing 29 million a year, all manual. It's not like they're running a small business, all piece of paper. They're still that old school, and then they go hand that over to their accountant. Hey, help us put this together. How scary you think it's going to be, or is it not as scary as people make it out to be, Tom?
So I see a barbell effect where you have big plates over here, big plates over here, and skinny in the middle. If you are an Amazon seasonal warehouse worker, you know, robots are doing that now, and the entire warehouse is run on those bots. You've got self-driving car taxis, you've got self-driving trucks. So you have all that. By the way, that's AI. That's the application of AI at its at a high sophisticated level. Now, something he said when he's talking about AI agents, and he's also talking about Python, the first word that comes to my mind is Claude, right? I don't really look at Gemini 3 and ChatGPT. I see them as search replacement. Like 80% of what's going on, I'm pulling that number out of the air. I think a huge percent of it, is it 80, is it 85? I don't know, is search replacement, doing search better, getting contextualized answers because you can ask a question of search. That's what I see Gemini 3 and ChatGPT, and I see that as a utility for the people that are office workers. They're turning that, they can get more information faster. Like McKinsey said, you can get the diligence report there. But when I start to look at Claude, and Claude cranking out in Python that now I can go do things with, and creating out the agents, suddenly I believe that, you know what? You've got analysts, and let's go ask Fred in tax. Well, maybe Fred is still in tax over at McKinsey, but it's not Fred and 10 humans anymore. It's Fred and 4 humans who are harnessing things like Claude, writing the AI agents. So that's the barbell effect. I think you're going to see job dilution because AI agents can help do more, but you're still going to see humans at the midst of it. It's not suddenly going to be what they call a dark cage, and a dark cage used to be what they referred to as a data center, that there's no humans at work there. It's just it's a dark cage. So that's what I think. I think on the low end here, you're going to see a lot of it, and you're going to see white collar consolidation, because when you, by the way, are you using Anthropic when you talked about it's cranking out in?
It's one of the things we use.
Yeah. When you said it's cranking it out in Python, you're talking about agents. I immediately thought, because I think Anthropic and Claude is doing that better than anybody else.
Well, here's the thing: is like when you describe this barbell, the barbell of impact is very real. There's certain people who are going to use this to an advantage. There's certain people who are going to get displaced. But I actually think if you look at this from a different angle, you say, actually, everyone's on an equal playing field right now. This stuff is new. ChatGPT came out 3 years ago. So we're 3 years into a 50-year journey. You can sit here, know nothing about AI. You don't even know how to spell AI. And you can go on the internet and you can Google and simply say, how do I use AI? How do I learn to build something with AI? And you just start asking questions. And I bet if you spent 2 weeks doing this, the holidays, you got extra time, right? Go and start doing it. You will become so proficient at using these tools that you will have a leg up on your colleagues at work. But also, if you are one of the people who are going to get displaced, you just got superhuman intelligence at your fingertips. You can do anything. You can build a company. You can go and get a job. You can do all this kind of stuff. To the point where you're sitting there talking about that you're using higher metrics to go and evaluate the 35,000 jobs. Well, you know what I've heard? I've seen multiple people online say, well, I lost my job. So you know what I did? I used AI and I went and I applied to, 5,000 jobs. And I was able to do it, and I customized the resume for every single one of the jobs based on the company, and I had it scrape the website and blah, 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 whatever.
And put the buzzwords onto my resume, but keep my resume honest.
Of course. And so you look at that and you say, on one side, there's a story of displacement On the other side, there's a story of empowerment. And I think the part that people forget in these stories is the world is better off because we have electricity and refrigeration and all these technologies. The world is going to be significantly better off because of AI. It's just, are you going to sit there and let the world happen to you, or are you going to have agency and go learn how to use those tools? And I think my message to people over and over again has been, we are 3 years into a 50-year journey. You have essentially a level playing field. Learn how to use the tools, and you will be one of the people who benefit from it rather than get displaced by it.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. Brandon, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's like the coolest, most unique economic time we've ever lived in. It's like literally the Industrial Revolution, where, we were learning how to use like oil and gas to build the new economy, and not like when we discovered electricity. So it's like, it's scary for some people in the sense that you don't really know like where to apply yourself and like where to strategically gain a skill set, because it like a lot of things could be wiped out that we're not anticipating. But no, it's simultaneously like the biggest, I think, money making opportunity and and career opportunity, I guess, in our lifetimes. And every time that there's this big technological displacement, 30 to 50% of the jobs get wiped out. But then there's jobs that we never even thought before that people could get.
Let me tell you where I'm at with this when it comes down to AI. I'm at a complete different place right now. The more and more I think about it. Okay, let's kind of go with this. Let's say AI gets so amazing that it replaces 80% of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Great. What did you just get rid of? Customers. You just got rid of customers. You need people to buy your products. What else do you need? You need people to start businesses. What else do you need? You need people to create jobs for other people. For instance, like for me, if there's a bookstore around my house and there are good people running it, they're not some socialist communists, I want to keep them in business. So I'll go buy a bunch of books from them as a way of saying, I don't need the books. I'll just go buy $1,000 worth of books. Go ahead, let's grab it, let's go, right? Why? I want the guy to stay in business. We'll go to Barnes & Noble. We probably spend $10,000 to $20,000 at Barnes & Noble. Why? It's a way I want Barnes & Noble to stay in business that's local to me, down the street from me at Fort Lauderdale. I want the guy to stay in business. Restaurants that you go to. Like, for example, the moment this one restaurant called Angelo Elia shut down, I can't tell you how much it dramatically changed my life in a negative way. Really? Tom, how many times a week was that Angelo Elia?
Oh,
be honest. How many times a week was that Angelo Elia?
Oh, we were there 3 times a week during the week, and then I stopped counting the number of weekends. It was easier to count the weekends we missed because we were always there. Hey, Tom, I'm over here Saturday. We bring the kids over. Kids are having an amazing pizza this end.
Angelo Elia.
And Pat and I were framing
you know how
the
many
destruction
great
of Earth
ideas we came up with Angelo Elia in that corner? So a small business locally that's part of your life that shuts down affects you. So now you mean to tell me you're worried about AI replacing jobs that now, how are those guys going to come by and buy from us? By the way, let me ask you another question. Here's the other thing. What do you think is horrible for society? A bunch of people with a lot of time on their hands? Do you think that's a safe society?
No.
Actually go into it. So you got a city that is driven 100% on AI, and you got 1 million people living there. 80% of them don't need to have a job because you're going to give them UBI, whatever bullshit you want to talk about. How safe is your city? What percentage of those people here is orange or pink or green? What happens when you have a lot of time on your hands? Do we do good when we have a lot of time on our hands?
No, alcoholism and drug abuse is tied to that.
Are you kidding me? Like, there's a part of this thing with AI to me that, you need to keep people active. My job as a parent is to make sure all my kids are as active as possible, whether it's with sports, different things they're learning, fighting, Muay Thai, whatever it is. I want to keep them active. You want to go into fear of AI that they're going to give UBI to people and people are going to be sitting home just clocking in, taking checks. You think that's good for marriages? You think that's good for a relationship? You think that's good? I don't think it is. So I think long-term, a society that if 80% of the jobs are going to be replaced by AI, that's a very problematic place to be. So yes, I get it. It's about, by the way, what we just both talked about is we're both using AI to develop what we're developing. So it's not like we're leveraging it, but don't get it twisted. We also have 35 job openings. We're also hiring people. So to me, long-term, political leaders better also get some ideas about realizing, You do not want to have a society where you're replacing jobs. The people that are worried about it, listen, small business owners, I will tell small business owners, if you don't figure out a way to make AI help you become more efficient while you still keep the human touch, like customer service, I want to talk to somebody if I'm going to your restaurant. If you can keep the customer touch, if you can keep the unreasonable hospitality, but if you're able to access to a lot of this technology that's out there for you, say you don't, your competitor does, they have an edge over you. So yes, do use it, but no, I don't think long-term 80% of jobs are going to be cut because we need people to make money so they can buy stuff. Can you give a devil's advocate argument to that? Actually intentionally argue against it.
Well, I think that you mentioned you're using AI, we're using AI, right? So people can go to, hiremetrics.com, CFOsylvia.com, so you're like, oh my God, there's all this AI. There's people who work at the company, right? OpenAI has a lot of people that work at the company. NVIDIA has a lot of people that work at the company, right? So there's jobs being created. Now, I think from this like devil's advocate standpoint, one of the aspects that I think is really interesting is there are going to be old jobs or traditional jobs that start to use AI, and then there are going to be AI native jobs. So one of the things is this whole idea of like vibe coding, right? It's basically people who are not technical, who now can use these tools and they can start to create things without having that computer science degree or thing. That's an AI native job that previously didn't exist. That's very different than, hey, I was already a software engineer, now I use the tool. And you can go through society, right? And you can see actually what we want is we want an explosion of AI native job creation to offset the displacement of this other thing. Now, one other aspect that I think is really interesting here is how does the government play into this? I know you guys have a story about the federal government has this AI executive order that came out, and then some states, including Florida, are saying, hey, wait a second, the state should still be involved. One aspect that I think is very interesting. So I have a friend, Sriram Krishnan, who I worked at Facebook a number of years ago. He is focused on AI at the White House. And anyone you talk in tech, like, I like that guy, right? He's one of the rare people who can have a very long career. He's worked at Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, etc. And no matter who he's worked with, they like him. So that's a good start. But what they realized was this is actually not just a technology. This is a nationally strategic technology that has national security implications. So the conversation that's about to start happening in America, humanoid robots are coming. It's a version of AI, this embodied AI. We cannot allow for Chinese manufactured humanoid robots to exist in the United States. Because you basically have a walking, talking, thinking, recording piece of hardware that is sending data back. They are mapping the 3D environment. They are listening. They're talking like, oh, that's scary. We won't even let Huawei into America. We're definitely not going to let the humanoids, right?
Or BYD.
So you start to think about this stuff. And so the reason why I bring that up is now all of a sudden, the job creation or AI native jobs, et cetera, we're going to have to build all this stuff in America. We are not going to be able to outsource the creation of some of this stuff to other countries. And so that should lead to a tailwind of job creation, this reshoring, the manufacturing in America, et cetera. Are we prepared to be able to do that? Do we have the people who are being educated, who have the skill sets, who have the desire to go work in these factories, et cetera? Like, we're in a weird time. And I know people are promising the humanoid robots will be manufacturing the humanoid robots. Maybe. I don't know. I know right now that AI can write code. And so AI can create more AI software. But I think your point about, if there's a lot of people with a lot of free time.
That's a terrible society. Let me tell you. I was a kid with a lot of time on my hands. I had a 1.8
I've seen the pictures.
I was a kid with a lot of time on my hands. You don't want a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. By the way, you know who gets credit right now? You know who gets credit for lowering crime? I'm going to give a shout out to a company that nobody's going to guess I'm going to give a shout out to. Walmart. You know how many people they employ? Number one employer in America. What's Walmart's market cap? Can you look at Walmart's market cap? It's not that much. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's like 840. 920 now. It's not $4 trillion like Nvidia. By the way, Walmart's only worth $919 billion compared to Nvidia's $4 trillion. Nvidia only employs 35,000 people. Walmart employs 2.1 million people. Take those 2.1 million jobs that actually think who works, the profile of the people that work at Walmart. Take those jobs out. What's crime look like? Amazon employs 1.5 million. Okay, and Amazon gets all these shots taken. Amazon employs 1.5 million. Allied Universal employs 800,000. Accenture is 742. FedEx is 547. We need these jobs, okay? We need these jobs. We need these people to be out there getting these, So to me, a part of it is the distraction. A part of it is keeping people active. But I do think in the crazy, and we can get into this story because Trump picks a fight with MAGA allies, issuing AI executive order, and DeSantis had something to say about that. Rob, if you want to pull this up. So this is on page 7. I think you got a video on this. So President Trump has picked a fight with MAGA conservative at Capitol Hill by issuing an executive order to chill state effort to regulate AI. Proposals similar to one that conservative critics of big tech defeated on Capitol Hill earlier this month. Here's the president. Go for it.
Are you more worried about the U.S. winning the race for AI dominance with China or about AI's potential threat to humanity?
Both. We're looking at that very strongly. We have a lot of threats in the opposite way if we don't do it. You look at the medical and medical research. Already the things that have come out of AI in terms of medical and cancer research and things, we're way ahead of what we ever thought we'd be just from the infancy of AI. So really both, and we want to be very careful with it. We also know that a big part of our economy, it could be 50, 60% of our economy going forward for a period of time at least, especially during the startup, is AI and AI based. We have trillions of dollars of construction going on, and that construction would stop, or it would certainly be, a lot of it would be halted. So look, we're leading China. We're leading China by a lot. China knows that, and not doing this would be the greatest gift to China and other countries, but China in particular, that China has ever received.
We thank you for watching.
Okay. So
that's the dichotomy.
I know.
But he just allowed the Blackwell chips to go to China, though, so that contradicts what he says right there.
But I think that the part that makes this difficult, and by the way, I don't know what the answer is. I think that's the part everyone's got to start with. I see people online, they're like, he should have done that. You don't know what he should have done because you don't have all the information either, right? But is it a competition with China? 100%. We got to win. At the same time, most people, I think, believe in states' rights. And so then you say, okay, well, if the states' rights, because if you look at actually in Florida, what they're doing, it's all about protecting the use of your name, image, likeness, et cetera, in the AI, right? So they're trying to protect their citizens, which makes sense. But then if you look at it from a business perspective, so every time that an AI model comes out, do they have to have a different, kind of a structure on a state-by-state basis? Well, that's kind of hard to innovate. So I've got to do something different in Florida than I got to do in Virginia, than I got to do in Texas, than I got to do in North Dakota. Well, who's going to go do that?
That
right?
kind of goes back to the car story we talked about with the $19.5 billion Ford, Tesla, California. Right. So, but by the way, this is DeSantis' position on the same topic. Go ahead, Rob.
The president issued an executive order, and some people were saying, well, no, this blocks the states from doing it. It doesn't. You should read it and see. First of all, an executive order can't block the states. You can preempt states under Article 1 powers through congressional legislation on certain issues, but you can't do it through executive order. But if you read it, they actually say a lot of the stuff we're talking about are things that they're encouraging states to do. They say it doesn't prevent child safety. It doesn't prevent any of that stuff. So even reading it very broadly, I think the stuff we're doing is going to be very consistent. But irrespective, clearly we have a right to do this. Now what it does say is, because they're worried about California, Colorado doing really crazy things, that they could have the Attorney General bring challenges to state laws under the Dormant Commerce Clause, which is, a legal doctrine. And I don't know how successful that would be, but the reality is, I don't anticipate that even happening, against any of the stuff we're doing in Florida. But if it does, I think we would be well positioned to be able to prevail on that.
Pause.
So I don't think
Tom, who do you side with? Who sounds more reasonable here?
DeSantis puts up the AI Bill of Rights. I think it sounds very, very reasonable. And I don't think there's anything at the federal level that's basically contradictory yet, because DeSantis is correct. It's an executive order on one side. It's intent on one side at the federal level. But then it's Florida. Well, look, every state has its own electric regulation. Every state has its own insurance regulation. Every state has a variety of regulations that are native to that state. The Florida environmental regulations protecting the offshore area are like 5 times more complex as they are in Mississippi. Why? Because look how big the coastline is and look at what they're protecting. So this is very natural that you'll have these things with the state. But what he's talking about is there is a specific precedent. Remember, precedent drives laws, laws drive precedent, and then secondary, and then precedent drives behavior. Well, there is a woman that was up there sitting next to him whose son was groomed and manipulated by an AI bot. And tragically, he became incredibly depressed, and the bot even suggested, and he took his own life after engaging with this AI bot. And so she's sitting next to him, and he's saying, look, this regulation...
DeSantis is who you're talking about.
Right. And DeSantis is saying, hey, here's an example of something that we need to jump in right now and help. We make the speed limits on our roads, so we need to make the speed limit here on AI. We need to protect this, and we protect name, image. What's also is the very last line of the Florida AI Bill of Rights at the very bottom. It says, also, data centers that are built here cannot impact the ratepayers and of Florida power disproportionately. The data centers, if you're going to work here, and he said, look, it's not a lot of jobs. It's 12 jobs that are in these data centers once they're all built. They're largely dark facilities. He says, fine, pay property taxes in Florida, do it. However, you have to figure out how to augment the power or pay a subsidy to help augment the power generation. I think that's very sensible because he's saying, hey, we can't have all this open land that's in the north part of Florida, south of Jacksonville, well north of Orlando, and people putting data centers on because there's open, cheap land and you're on the grid. He said, if that's going to make the rate of electricity go up for Floridians, I don't want that, and I'm putting this. So the Florida AI Bill of Rights is running it quicker. Lastly, which is quicker and more nimble, a small group or a national group? The small group, it's a state. And that is the function of states' rights to nimbly respond to things very, very quickly and then get government help when you need it. When a hurricane hits, and this is, I'll give everybody this example, the governor will declare the state a disaster area and say, I need federal resources because what just hit me is so damn big. But in the meantime, who determines where a stop sign goes? The state. Who puts up a street light? The state. Who makes building permit decisions in a given area? The state, because the federal government can't handle that. So I think that I'm with the states on this one, and I'm with DeSantis. Now, I understand how a tech company will say, am I going to be asked to follow 50 state laws to put a national program in place? Well, there's something to be said for that, and I think we'll figure it out. But DeSantis is trying to protect citizens from electric costs and name, image, likeness and get in front of it right now. He's doing the right thing as a governor leading a state of citizens who are being impacted.
Brandon.
Yeah, I don't necessarily side with one or the other, but I could be critical of both of them. Like this bill, for example, it's over 1,000 pages. I mean, who's read the entire thing? Like, I understand the argument for needing like a fast process to implement things. Like, you don't want to go state by state having to get approval for it. So like, fine, that particular issue, that particular concern, let's get that squared away. But like, nobody has any idea what's in this bill, and like we're talking about AI like it's as powerful as a nuclear weapon. So I don't like the idea of override federal powers and that being like the system for everybody for it. Like anytime the federal government's gotten like the main control over something, it hasn't ended up in a good situation. And I don't like that he's saying that it's for the reason of competing with China for it. Like I said before, he approved China receiving Blackwell chips from NVIDIA. So if we're really concerned about China beating us in the AI race or catching up to us, then why are we sending chips there that are used to build AI? So
yeah, I think that China has the edge because whatever they say, you better do. It's a dictatorship. It's a communistic regime. The economy is capitalism, fine, but it's a dictatorship. You have to listen to authoritarian leadership, whatever they're talking about. So, but also the lifestyle is not the way our lifestyle is. Americans, we're different. We are given certain options. And even though the example we talked about earlier with the cars, the $19.5 billion for Ford, where causing Elon to leave California and go to Austin, and seeing the fact that Musk wants to make, what do you call it? Not Musk. Newsom wants to make, 35 by 2035, 100% of car makers, EV and all this stuff. I think we got to change that. That was a shitty idea. With AI, I would much rather leave it to 50 states. I get what they're talking about, some of the stuff that's got to be federal. Yes, we have a federal minimum wage, $7.25. But let the state, if they want to do $15 an hour, leave it be. If a state wants to do $20 an hour, state needs to have its own AI regulatory requirements. But man, some states, like if I'm running a state, I'm like, hey, my number one is for the younger families to have jobs, make money, be able to afford a house, and be able to have kids and be happy. What can I do to create a state for that? Versus, what can I do to create a state to get all the AI people to move to me? Maybe that's also not a bad idea, but my goal is to make sure it's a place for people. Who is the number one customer? Is the number one customer AI? Will in the future the number one customer become the AI? Who's going to be the number one customer? If you're running a state, who is your number one customer? Think about it.
Your people.
Who is your number one customer?
Citizen.
Yes, citizen. So are you making it better for the citizen? Are you making it better for them to flourish? It's going to be a very, like you said, it's complex on how it's going to be argued the next 3, 5, 10 years. Go ahead.
I just think the federal government should establish the loosest set of rules. And then to your point, the states can constrict it more.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
I actually think that they're optimizing for two different things. The federal government's trying to compete in a geopolitical, competition on the global stage, and the states are trying to protect their citizens. And so what you have to do is, ideally, the United States would work great if we could put those two things together.
And if that's the direction we go, let it be. If some states want to be tighter, and then if you don't like it, leave. Go to a different state. If you like it, great, go to that state, but you'll be able to make the decision accordingly. Let me do 2 more stories and then we'll wrap up. So this next, and Rob, can you pull up the story of what happened with World Cup ticket prices? Did you guys see that, what they had to do? That they were forced to lower, and I know your brother probably knows all about this, but we're going to go with the story first. So this guy named Doug Ford decided to take a shot at DeSantis. He mocks DeSantis, then DeSantis mocks Doug Ford because Doug Ford says Florida's hurting. Rob, go ahead and play that clip on Florida hurting. Go for it.
Canadians are no longer flying to Florida. They're not being, the snowbirds have basically, it's dried up. There's been an organic boycott of tourism into America. Do you support that? And are you going to go to Florida this year?
Yeah, so let me tell you, it's going to be the first time I'm not going to Florida. But I talked to so many people. Don't let this guy, Trump, determine and ruin your life and everything. That's my personal choice. Maybe some families have gone to Florida their whole lives. Go to Florida. That's great. But I encourage you to stay here and support local tourism. But you can't let the one tyrant change our lives, right? You just can't let it happen. I'm doing it out of my own personal choice because I just can't do it. But don't let this guy change your lives. If you go down and you see, maybe their grandparents are down there. Maybe they're somewhere else. So we'll get through this. But they're hurting down there right now. They're hurting on all fronts. They're hurting on their economy. President Trump is at the lowest rating that any president has been in the first year, and God knows probably 100 years. So it's taking effect.
Okay, pause
and
that. All right, now let's go to DeSantis responding. I don't know if he knows what's going on here. Every day, Canadians are moving here trying to avoid your escape taxes that you have. Here's Ron DeSantis. Actually, we continue to break tourism records and win the Stanley Cup. Florida breaks its own record again, 34.4 million visitors in second quarter of 2025. Tom, what do you have to say about this with what Doug Ford is taking shots at the governor?
Well, words talk, numbers scream, and Ron DeSantis just checked Doug Ford into the boards. Excuse me, I'm over here dying. No, it's what I was saying is DeSantis absolutely checked Doug Ford into the boards on this. It's like, oh, they're hurting down there. That's just those toss-away comments by a politician who's not looking at the numbers. And is the economy perfect? No. He said, but look at tourism down here. And by the way, all I have to do is look around at the Canadian license plate. There's a hell of a lot of Ontario license plates down here this time of year, which means that they're still down here. Are they down here for tourism? Or are they down here for, the ultra cold part of the winter for rheumatism and arthritis and just enjoy the weather and everything? Seems like a lot of them are down here and it's all happening. So I love my governor and I love this comment by my governor. I thought it was a beautiful, measured, factual response. And I think that if anything up there in Canada, they're suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and it frustrates them that certain things are still going well here. I think it just pisses them off because remember, what percent of the American economy is the Canadian economy? I think the answer is 6.1.
Canada is Florida.
Well, I think Canada is only is 6.1 of like the U.S. economy, 6.1%. So it's like, dude, you need the trading partner. You need this. And in the middle of your socialist hissy fit and debanking truckers and doing all the things you guys have done in the last 2 years, what have you done to help yourselves outside of political headlines that make it look like you're saying something? They need to get it together because the Canadian people are down here are factually talking to us. We have wonderful Canadians that came down here, moved down here, paid the exit tax. We didn't know them. Pat and I didn't know who these guys are. They introduced themselves at the cigar lounge. Who are you? We're from Canada. We moved down here and we love your cigar lounge. And now we're members and we paid the exit tax and we've emigrated legally. It took us 4.5 years to put this together, but we went through the proper channels. And we're like, welcome. What are you going to do? And you remember what they said, Pat? Well, we're going to figure it out, but we're going to start something. Me and Roy here, we're starting something because we had the means to sell our homes and come down here. God bless them. God bless them. But those people left Canada. 2 great business partners that have significant wealth just left Canada. That's just, and they're at our cigar lounge.
They come to the guys like, can I meet other people here, friends? I want to make friends. I said, you're not just going to make friends. You're going to make friends from the exact town you left in Toronto. I go to the other side. I grab Roberto. I go to the other side. I'm like, here, guys, make friends. Toronto family, same values, business owners, go to dinner together. They're best friends now that they met at the Boardroom Cigar Lounge, which, by the way, Boardroom Cigar Lounge, Rob, if you want to put up the clip, January 2nd to kick it off, we'll be doing a live podcast with Stephen A. Smith on January 2nd to kick off the new year with Stephen A. Smith. It'll be on a Friday night. It'll be our first podcast of the year that we'll be doing at the Cigar Lounge. You got to be a member to be at the event. You want to learn more, Rob, put the link below for them to go to it. So, Pomp, yourself, when you hear a story like this, you lived here for a couple of years. You're back in New York now, okay? When you were down here, what was the experience like? And now going back to New York, do you feel you're becoming more Canadian because you're closer to Canada? Maybe you're going to side with Doug. Where are you at with this?
I think Doug Ford, there's this thing of you step on other people in order to try to make yourself seem taller. That seems like Doug Ford's entire strategy, right? If he can put his name in a headline next to Trump, if he can put his name in a headline next to DeSantis, then people know who Doug Ford is. But my guess is that nobody in America really cares about Doug Ford. Nobody knows who he is. And probably in Canada, they're not even going to remember him in a couple of years. The reason being is because if you sit and you constantly just attack everyone, you are destructive. You're not constructive. And history is very kind to people who are constructive, who build things, who create things, who solve problems, who are constantly optimistic and pushing forward. What we have is a very large divergence in politicians. And I'll give you an example here in America that just came out. I don't know if you guys saw the recent video from Bernie Sanders. This one is all time. He wants to put a moratorium on building data centers in America. Okay, why? Because he believes that AI only benefits rich people. And so he's going through this whole thing, and you're saying, wait a second, hold on, man. We're locked in a geopolitical competition. Like you heard Trump, you heard DeSantis, you heard they're trying to push this forward. There's got to be some guardrails right there. Someone of like a prudent approach to a new technology that's obviously innovative. And Bernie said, look at this. He wants to put a moratorium on the construction of data centers that are powering the unregulated sprint to develop and deploy AI. Probably the single most important technology that not only, by the way, as you heard Trump talk about in the Oval Office, is going to help push drug development forward, right, is going to do all these different things. And then when you listen to this thing, he wants democracy to catch up. I don't even know what that means.
Regulation of taxes.
That's democracy.
Right? But like a normal person would just say that. So, I mean, look, again, forget whatever your politics are, but if you look at a Doug Ford or Bernie Sanders, right, again, sometimes they may have a good idea or two, but these things as they approach AI and this like global competition, it just seems like it's all about marketing, but it's not actually about driving results for their citizens.
You know what the exit tax is? Like if you wanted to leave Canada, say you invested into something $1 million. You bought a business, now it's worth $5 million, okay? You're selling, you got $4 million in capital gains. To exit and leave Canada and take your money, you have to pay your 50% taxes, give or take. So your $4 million goes to $2 million, then you can leave Canada and come to Florida.
It's like getting
So it's
divorced.
basically same as the U.S.
Yeah, exit tax is what they got. Would you say?
Yes, it's like getting divorced. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, it is a divorce, but they don't want you to leave, but people are leaving in a major way. How often do you run into Canadians here?
Oh, a good amount. And like you're saying, it's crazy, like the caliber of people they're losing to. Think about like who's being attracted to the things they're saying, and then who's being attracted to a place like this. Like, you know, I'll take high caliber people like that all day. And yeah, man, it's like why is this guy taking a shot like the place in the biggest position of strength? Like it's objectively false that we're doing bad here. Like it's the highest growth rate of any of the states aside from Texas.
But you gotta love the fact that, and by the way, just a crazy question. Maybe we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Just a crazy, crazy question. Is there any chance DeSantis can be a president one day? Is there any chance?
Yeah, someday.
Is there any chance? Is there any chance? Can you ask the poll, Rob? Okay.
What time frame?
What should be the poll, Rob? What should be the poll?
In the next 25 years, is it possible?
Is there any chance DeSantis will be a president? Put yes, no. What should be the poll? What should be the question?
I think the time frame's key because
just put yes or no. Is there any chance DeSantis could be a president one day? Let's see what the audience will say. What do you think, Bob?
I don't know. It's a cop-out answer, but I really don't know. Right? I mean, look, I can make an argument on both sides. If you want to take a constructive conversation, then Florida is a very fast-growing state. They've got low taxes. I think that there's a lot of people who have moved here, and so people are voting with their dollars and feet, and they want to go there. On the other hand, there's a lot of things where the culture wars and things that just like the general population doesn't really care about, right? But again, Trump became president and he engaged in some of the stuff as well. So the thing that I find most interesting about politics and predicting the future is not so much the candidates and how they'll evolve, it's that the world evolves. If you think about Trump, people have talked about this ad nauseum. He's like a 1980s, 1990s Democrat, but he's a Republican now, right, who's running. And so sometimes when you look at it through that lens, like everything he does makes a ton of sense. Mm-hmm. Imagine telling someone in 1990, Donald Trump's going to be president as a Republican. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, shut up, right? So that's only, a couple decades. Well, what's going to happen in 30 years from now? Could DeSantis be president as a Democrat? You know what I mean? You start this.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. Right. Within right now, in the constructs and the politics and the parties we see right now, we got like 60-40. No, 57-43, so less than 60-40. But let me give you the scenario. J.D. Vance is defeated. Marco Rubio was the VP, and everything they tried because of whatever issues, the Democrats are in power for one administration. We all know what's going to happen to the U.S. government. In that next election, would a centrist, practical, common sense Republican have wings? I think he could. So I think it's all in the context of the future and how it plays out. The way it's going right now, could he be president next time? I don't think that plays out. I don't think the Republican machine, the donors and everything that goes in with getting there plays for him. But what if the Republicans lose that one and then 4 years later they're looking for like this practical guy who looks at, look what I did for Florida. Look, guys, look what I did for Florida. And look, you thought you had J.D. Vance. You didn't. It didn't happen. And we've had this crazy Gavin Newsom for 4 years. I'm your guy. I think at that point, you take the survey again, it's different. So I think we have to see the pages turn. I love how he's governing right now. I love the governor. I am a staunch defender of term limits, and I hope that what comes after his term limit is a continuation of the common sense he brings.
My only problem with him was one thing when I had him on the podcast. I had one problem with him. He didn't call Trump. He didn't say thank you. And he went in attack mode instead of wanting to build collaboration relationship. He went after the guy thinking he's above him because he had 1.5 million more votes than he did when he first got elected and won by 34,000 votes. It's the only thing. 2024, I only wanted one person to win for president because of what happened the last 4 years. And history only wanted one person on the conservative side to get voted to win. My opinion. DeSantis can have his time, but that was the only problem. Everything else, if this guy in the future decides to, I don't think it's going away. Now that his wife is not going to be running and Byron Donalds and others are going to be fighting in Florida. And by the way, for a lot of people that I think it's going to be a lock, did you see who won in Miami? Did you see what she's doing out there? So
You want a good one?
Yeah.
I used to ask people on the podcast all the time, who do you think could be president? What's the most outrageous? The best answer I ever heard was Ivanka Trump as a Democrat. Right? But I started thinking about it more. And you know the two sleepers that I think that could be president? Kim Kardashian or The Rock. And The Rock, one of the things that people don't realize is in the debate stage, there's a bunch of studies that show whoever is most physically dominant usually gets the votes. So Trump, when he's on the stage, he's in the middle, right? And there's like this thing from a voter standpoint. But he also, if you listen to a lot of interviews, they've asked him, would you ever be president? He goes, well, if the American people wanted me to be, right? So he's kind of keeping the door open. But the reason why I think Kim Kardashian is so interesting is because I think there's a very large contingent of the country that now realizes a lot of elections are determined by white, liberal, young women. Well, who do they look up to? Whether you like it or not, Kim Kardashian is one of those people. She has immense reach. You think that some of these guys in the politics world have reach? Talk about a single Instagram post from her. And she's the only person I know who's been like a chameleon who can go from sex tape to reality TV star to lawyer to entrepreneur. And so I don't know if these types of people want to be president, but I think that what we're learning is having a monopoly on attention drives outcomes of election. Mamdani is a great example of that in New York City. These are people who have, on a scale in politics, off the charts monopoly on attention.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I was with you when you said Ivanka's a Democrat. I'm like, okay, that's creative. I was with you when you said The Rock, because we've talked about it. Him and I speak it, and we've had him at at one of our events, and specifically we talked about presidency. Kim Kardashian, that's when I'm like, are you trying to get her on the CFO Sylvia? Is that what is that what the idea is? Hey Kim, can you please go download
CFOsylvia.com? Pull that up, Rob. Pull that up.
If she asks and says, change it to CFO Kim, I would do it, and maybe you change the picture Kim. CFO Kim.
She only can get hired if she goes through higher metrics, right?
President Kardashian, how exactly did you get Putin to agree to end the Ukraine war?
I can't tell you. It's insider information. But I mean, listen, she's got a massive depth chart, so she may be able to do it. Who knows? Her contact list is
fully
massive.
deployed airbags.
So but going back to it with what we're talking about, the only last thing I want to wrap up with, Rob, can you pull up what happened with the World Cup tickets? So World Cup tickets, apparently they came out and they gave the prices, and all of a sudden it was so expensive, people lost their minds and saying, "What the hell are you doing?" So FIFA slashes 2026 World Cup ticket prices after backlash. Go a little bit lower. I think it was 4,000 something. There you go. That's what it was. So slash it. Worked up most loyal fans, global backlash, and some will get the tickets for $60 a ticket for the final instead of being asked to pay $41.85. By the way, we try to get a suite. One of the suites we were looking at, we like the suite. $885 for 17 tickets. $885,000 for 17 tickets.
$885,000 for 17
tickets. A suite, yeah. And then the day after Trump did the ball thing, and he got the Peace Award and from the FIFA president, that day that same suite was trading for $3.1 million.
Oh my God!
So we're in the business for a suite, but we won't be paying that kind of money. we may be about to get one done, and who knows what'll happen. This is going to be like, when is the next time the World Cup's going to be in the U.S.? 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades? Who knows?
What was the last one?
In the U.S.?
Yeah, 94, Rose Bowl.
Is that what it was? Could have been. So maybe every 30 years we bring it to the U.S. So in 30 years from now,
the finals?
The finals going to be in Jersey.
No, but that's the one. That's the one. The suite at the finals.
Yeah. And you know where the second place match is going to be? The third and fourth place match is going to be in Miami down here. They're playing in Miami down here, but the final's going to be in Jets.
Do you remember what happened? Is it Copa Cup? Is that what?
Yeah.
That was what got played in Miami, and all the fans were like overwhelming the stadium.
Wow, you remember that? Yeah, in the video. Yeah, it was pretty nasty.
Like Americans aren't that fanatic about sports.
No. These guys are religious. It's a religion to them.
Well, we have a good friend who's a C-level executive with the Stephen Ross's organization, runs the Dolphins in the stadium.
So he
spent the next month of his life with insurance adjusters. It was horrible.
Yeah, I remember
It was.
That.
It
Guys were
was.
climbing through the AC ducts.
Yes,
and stuff.
it's craziness. All right. Well,
They
Pom,
destroyed an escalator.
Great to have you back on.
Thank
Great
you guys
to
for
have
having
back
me.
on. We're going to put the link below to CFO Sylvia for people who want to learn more
appreciate
about it. And,
Hiremetrics.com. Go check out the merch that you guys have.
Yes, FLB shoes. I'm wearing them today again. But guys, tomorrow, stay tuned for the president of. Oh, you have a clip of it?
I have the intro if you want.
Oh, let's
see it. Let's see what we got. Really, I'm curious now. Go for it. There are people that think you helped funnel 400 tons of cocaine into America. They think you took the $1 million bribe from El Chapo, took millions of dollars to help with your campaign for 2013.
Today, Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, was extradited to the United States to face federal charges.
The only explanation that I have is because they wanted to get rid of me.
I got you. So they put you there so somebody would kill you to get rid of you. That logic makes sense to me. You were in prison with Diddy and Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yeah.
Did you speak with them?
There was another guy, rapper, he's very famous. They call it 69, I think.
Tekashi 6ix9ine?
Yeah.
So the same day that this meeting happens, this picture right here, which is Kamala Harris
Yes.
and Xiomara Castro
Yes.
are meeting. On that same day, you get indicted?
Yes. When you talk about the deep state in America, some people said, that's a conspiracy theory. I have lived it.
Tomorrow morning, 9
Let's
a.m.,
go.
folks.
Let's go.
9 a.m. tomorrow morning, guys. Stay tuned with this. By the way, it's a 2-hour conversation from the beginning to the end. It's interesting, and you want to know more. You can have more interest in Honduras government tomorrow than you've ever had in your entire life when you hear these stories. Anyways, Pom, great to have you back on,
Absolutely.
buddy.
Thank you, guys.
If we don't see you, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, all of it. But we will do it again this Friday. And we have 2 guys showing back up. One guy's going to come who's was at the White House yesterday, Mr. Sosnick, and Vincent Oshano, who hangs out with a lot of animals. They'll be back on Friday. God bless everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.